fuck's going on with...
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, I need to research my enemy. Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad.
Oh, Becca.
So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it, Voldemort? That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You've got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway, yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. No, she's not.
We are the hope that they take away from you.
Yeah, like, but none of us have ever done anything to the levels of what Esau have done. Yeah, you're obsessed with us. Esau, on the other hand, you're terrified of, aren't you? You are terrified of Esau. On that note, big up in the super chat. Number 1999 from Arafina. But we are family. Hey. Hogstead trolls. Oh, wait, let me think that through. We are family. Hey. We've got all the Hogstead trolls with me. No, that doesn't fit. We are family. Hey. I've got Hogstead trolls all with me. No, one more time. We are family. Hey. I've got all Hogstead. No, I've got Hogstead trolls. I've got all Hawkstead trolls with me. I've got all Hawkstead trolls.
I've been losing sleep at night, cause what you did set my world alight. Set my world alight. Set my world alight. You got what's coming to you. I was searching, I was breaking, I was picked apart, never in your sin. I was breaking, I was left out. You got what's coming to you. I was waiting to be played in. I was left to tell the devil that he can't win. I was searching, I was left out. You got what's coming to you. You get what's coming to you. You get what's coming to you.
Right, is that Eric? I've just realised who your voice is. Sorry, I'm in bed because I'm not very well. I'm not very well. What are you doing?
I don't give a fuck if you're not very well.
You've never given a fuck if I'm very well. What is wrong with you? Why are you doing this?
I'm warning you now. This is the fucking last warning you've got.
Warning?
You've taken this offline, right?
I've taken it offline. I've taken it offline. You've made videos using my children. You've used avatars of my flat, my dad, my mum, my allotment. You've gone for my car, everything. What the fuck are you talking about, you sick cunt?
Do you want to listen to me or not?
Oh, fair enough. Go on.
Right, you decided to take this offline, right?
No, I've not decided. You decided to come into my life. Don't fucking make some shit up. I don't know who you are, weird old man.
The last warning. You mentioned
Last
name.
warning? Last warning?
If you mention my name, AJ's name, Sabina's name, you'll have a knock on the fucking door.
I'm going to have a knock on the fucking door. By who?
Leave Sabina, AJ,
I didn't want to bring Sabina into it. They made out she's a solicitor and she's not, okay? I've been requested by law to report them for it because you have to use their name to check it. She said that she is a solicitor. She said that she's a solicitor. She said that her name is Sabina Wood. She said that. Herself said that. AJ then went on to tell the internet. He has control of her Facebook, has her driving license in his wallet. What the fuck is going on there? And she's not agreeing with him. Is this my fault? You lot all came after me. I don't know you people.
Leave Sabina.
I've not done anything to Sabina. She has proclaimed to be a solicitor, and now it doesn't marry up with what AJ has said online. You lot think it's fine to go down my Facebook account that I don't even have access to get things. You've taken my fucking children and made videos over it. You've put my shit out all over the place, and you've got the fucking audacity to call me and tell me to leave you alone. You haven't even got the bollocks to have your number come up. You fucking melt.
Leave Sabina.
I have not touched Sabina. I will not. The law will deal with Sabina and you and AJ and Danny and anyone else you want to fucking try and threaten me with. I am not fucking scared of you cunts.
You have been bringing her name up all the fucking time.
You are
Leave
fucking
the woman
finished.
out of it.
You are fucking finished.
Leave the woman.
I have not done anything. You are phoning me from a withheld number. You are phoning me and threatening me.
No, I'm not threatening. I'm just saying.
You've just fucking said it's your last warning. How many times? Last warning for what? Last warning for what? I've not done a thing, and I don't intend. I don't intend to do a thing. You fucking pricks harass me day in, day out. And you've fucking got the audacity to phone me.
If you mention her name once fucking more, it will be coming to your fucking door.
And you've just done it again. So you're threatening what is coming to my door?
Matter or that.
Wow.
Under a broken moon, we regaled what was. I watched the swallows bloom into a cloud of dust. Oh, brother, come be my keeper, hold me dear. Don't let the wreckage call what the wreckage was. Now let's just ride on highs while the moment's right. No, don't you fold my wings for the fear of flight in your eyes. You curled up guards while I ponder death. It feels like this war is our dawning. Don't let that lie outrun us yet. It feels like this war is our dawning. Waking up to find a forest. Summon your sight to get us now. Reaching out to find me lawless. Summon the fight to get us out. When all the world rained down on our safety's hood, it left me lying out with a pail of blood. Oh, brother, come be my keeper, hold me dear. I'll let the winter start when I say I've stood for us. You curl up guards while I ponder death. It feels like this war is our dawning. Don't let that
Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie. She's a brown girl.
Millie who?
Millie Cowell.
Millie Cow?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you know she's one of the 20 special children?
Because I know, because she comes and they do sex to her, mostly.
Who's they? Who's they?
The teachers, the parents, the staff.
Every single teacher or specific teachers?
No, every single. The whole school does it. The whole school, and we got our own church.
Yeah.
Too, so because they do that, because after, as I said, we kill babies, we drink their blood, we eat them. But then after so the social services who are in it, they go to families.
You like what? A historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Bagir has this report, and this is what's left of it.
As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
Welcome back. A reminder of the top stories this morning. US President Donald Trump is on his way to the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he'll address world leaders and business chiefs. It comes amid mounting tensions between the US and Europe over his threats to take control of Greenland.
British homeowners will be able to access low and zero interest loans to install solar panels, heat pumps and batteries. It's all part of the government's £15 billion warm homes plan that they say is aimed at cutting energy bills.
The rate of inflation rose to 3.4% in December. Official figures show it's up from 3.2% the month before, slightly higher than most economists had expected.
Well, there's an awful lot of moving parts this morning, again, on the international stage. So we just wanted to very, very quickly show you the latest from Strasbourg. This is Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission, the EU Commission. And she has been, she's just left, I should say, actually. But we could tell you what she did say just a few moments before her speech finished. The main takeaway is that she's been talking tough on Greenland. The future of Greenland is only for Greenlanders to decide.
And so she obviously addressed the World Economic Forum yesterday. She was speaking in Strasbourg today, I guess, reiterating that message. I think the latest, obviously, is still early in the morning in Davos as well. It's 1 hour different. I think it's 1 hour ahead or behind. I think it's ahead. I think it's 9:30 there, so it's still early. But we have already heard today afresh from the US administration, from Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary who's there, who had a very firm line still on Greenland. Also, we should say a very firm line on Chagos, reiterating the kind of new take on it that the US has that we learned about from President Trump, 36 hours ago. So, the tensions remain as high as you could possibly expect ahead of Donald Trump's arrival, which has been slightly delayed. His speech was meant to be around lunchtime, but his flight was delayed, so he'll be there a bit later this afternoon.
It's interesting, Ursula von der Leyen also saying this morning that in this increasingly lawless world, Europe needs its own levers of power. And this really, to me, does seem to be the kind of backdrop of Davos, really. We've heard Mark Carney of Canada talking about a new world order and all that kind of thing as well. So I think it's pretty clear that things in the kind of global alliances are shifting rapidly.
Now, we've been talking a lot about the possibility of the government banning social media for under 16s. And yesterday we told you that a consultation had been launched in the UK by the government. Politicians are watching what happens in Australia very closely, who of course brought in a similar ban 6 weeks ago.
So we wanted to check in and find out if it's actually working and what the UK can learn from it. We can talk to our correspondent Nicole Johnson, who joins us from Sydney. Nicole, how's it been going down?
Well, it's been a mixed bag, really. It's 6 weeks in, and it depends on who you talk to. We were warned by kids weeks ago that they would not let the government take them off their favourite social media apps, 10 of them, sites like Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and many of them have gone through with that. They say they found ways around it, around the age verification that is now on these apps that they've had to introduce. They either get an older sibling or a friend, or they even hold up a photo to try and trick the age verification. So it's not as solid as the government would have liked, but it had always realised that it was a bit of an uphill battle. But let's take a listen to what some of the kids had to say.
The social media ban definitely affected, me and my friendships a little bit, because especially on Snapchat, you go from talking every day and having a reason to talk to keep up streaks and all of that, and then it gets banned and you move to messages and you don't really have a reason to chat anymore.
To be honest, my life hasn't really changed 1 month on from the ban. A lot of my friends and I have been able to regain our accounts due to facial recognition not being fully accurate.
It's failed completely.
Failed in what way? Failed to do what?
Failed to block people from using it, and also failed as an idea.
I haven't really seen anybody use new social media apps. I think most people just like the apps they have already.
I overall think that the ban is positive because kids get exposed to a lot of negative things online that can affect their mental health and body image and perception of others. And it's also quite fake, the platforms that they use.
Argument, and it's pretty clear an awful lot of kids are getting around this, right? But I guess, we don't say, just because some kids raid alcohol from their parents' booze cupboards, that means that we shouldn't say that we have a drinking age limit. I mean, is this just kind of inevitable, I guess, with law change?
I think it is inevitable, and that's the argument that the government's been making. There's still been 4.7 million accounts for kids under the age of 16 that have been closed. Hundreds of thousands of kids have been kicked off these apps, and the government had always said it would take time, it could take decades, really. But they are framing all of this as a cultural shift, a real change in this country, so that kids, instead of growing up addicted to social media, scrolling, harmful effects, online cyberbullying, the government wants them to be outside enjoying the Australian summer, playing sport, learning musical instruments, hanging out with their friends. Now, how much of that is really happening? It's a bit too early to tell, but people do seem pretty patient. And even parents who have said that it's not working, their older teenagers are still on it. They do acknowledge that for the 8, 9, 10-year-olds, they think things will be different.
Nicole, great stuff. Thanks so much. Nicole Johnson there for us in Sydney.
We asked you to send in your views on this, and if you got your views, then you can continue to do that mornings at sky.uk. A few people have actually sent in. It's quite interesting. These people are supportive of the ban, but saying that more needs to be done to stop people getting around it. So one mum emailed in saying that she strongly supports a ban. She's got a mum of a 13-year-old, really strict parental controls, but then found out that, you know, her kids have been finding a way around them, you know, downloading VPNs and that kind of thing. So she's saying that if a ban's to be effective, they need some tech-savvy individuals to be consulted to close these loopholes. Philippe as well, also in favour of a ban, but saying clearly there's ways to dodge age-related bans, as is illustrated in a report from Australia. And he's suggesting using national insurance numbers that people have from birth in order to verify age. Much more controls, I guess, of people setting up social media sites, social media platform accounts in the first place.
I guess it's another argument for some digital IDs as well. It's another way to enforce it, whether or not people like the sound of that or not. Let's discuss it more, because, of course, ministers are starting a consultation on whether to consider that tier or not. Baroness Keeley joins us, Chair of the Communications Digital Committee in the Lords. Very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Are you for or against a ban for under 16s on social media?
Well, the committee hasn't, that I represent, hasn't taken a position on it, but I'm personally not for a ban. I'm feeling against it at the moment.
And why is that?
Well, there are very strong opinions, but the campaigning organisations, all the stakeholder organisations like the NSPCC and the Molly Rose Foundation, those most involved with issues of children, young people and online safety, don't believe in a ban, don't believe it's the right thing, and are very direct about that. They believe what we've got to do is tighten up our online safety legislation.
Is it really an either-or thing, though? Like, you can say that, look, this online safety legislation is really important and also support a ban, right? It's not a reason to not have a ban, is it?
You can, but they also believe it's too blunt a response. There's this thing about the cliff edge. You know, you're only postponing the age at which young people, do access social media, and they will find ways around it.
To postpone it?
It could be, and I think that's why we've got the consultation that we've got the ministers have announced this week.
On that point, on the sort of consultation and the fact that Australia are testing it, what are kind of the learnings you're looking for from the situation in Australia, and what would sway you significantly in either direction based on how it all plays out there?
I think if we could be sure that it would prevent, many more children, young people from accessing, harmful material, particularly sexual abuse material, pornography, and also look for benefits to mental health. I think the benefits to mental health are the key thing that people are looking for.
Can I be honest? I'm a little bit puzzled as to why you're opposing it. Because on the one hand, you're saying that you're worried it's not going to work, that people, will still access the internet. Then on the other hand, you say you're worried about cliff edge, and actually, so these feel like two contradictory concepts. I'm not actually clear. Why do you personally, not the NSPCC, why do you personally oppose a ban?
We had an inquiry into media literacy earlier this year, and we were working with a group of young people. They didn't believe in a ban. It's a group of young parliamentarians representing people all up and down the country. They didn't believe in it, and we went to schools and talked to parents and other experts who really felt that we should be training young people, educating young people in media literacy and digital skills, getting them, to understand how to keep themselves safe.
So that when they I'm still not clear why you don't think there should be a ban, because you're just talking there about some young people you've spoken to and parents saying you shouldn't have more. I'm just not clear why you personally don't think there should be a ban.
Because it's a blunt response and people think it won't work.
What is the alternatives that we could be doing in the short term with the legislation that already exists? You mentioned tightening it or using the full forces behind it.
Well, some of the things you talked about there, you talked about age verification, you talked about use of VPNs. These are all things which are in play and that we could be dealing with. But the biggest thing is just getting the tech platforms to actually do what they should do and not, have harmful material and not have algorithms which are difficult and pushing, damaging.
How's that going? I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if you call out Elon Musk and say, let's take all this stuff down, then that's fine. I guess the point is that we live in the real world.
Yes, that's right. Well, Ofcom are grappling with a new situation. I mean, the protections under the Online Safety Act only really came in a couple of months ago. I think people think because that legislation passed a long time ago, but it had a sort of staged implementation, and it's only really been there a couple of months. So, but I mean, continually we're asking, the committee I represent are asking Ofcom to tighten what they're doing and to just do more to keep children safe.
My final question on this is just where you see the political balance on this. I mean, so many issues get very politicised, and I think even on the social media space, when it comes to sort of free speech, it's fairly politicised. When it comes to protecting young people online, is there at least hope that people are broadly united, broadly not sort of ideological about it, but much rather practical about it, or do you see this dividing quite a lot on party lines?
Well, you couldn't cast it with party line. You can do that today with the debate we've got and the vote we've got tonight. But on my committee, we've got all parties represented, and we all take this very seriously indeed. It's one of our, most important priorities as a committee, and we will just continue to do what we can to try and keep children safe.
And you're looking at AI in particular, right?
Yes, that's a different inquiry. We're looking at AI and copyright at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Great to have you on the programme. Barbara Keeley there of that important House of Lords committee.
Now, it's almost 2 weeks since security forces in Iran opened fire on their own people in cities across the country. Relatively little is known about exactly what happened because the internet has been shut off for 13 days there.
But we are still getting some new footage coming through, and with it, of course, new stories. Our international correspondent, John Sparks, has been taking a look at one of them. So this is a 17-year-old boy who was killed in the crackdown and his family's attempt to try and get his body back.
A warning, his report does contain images viewers might find distressing.
Abu Fazl's family didn't want him to attend the protests on January the 8th, the night the regime opened fire on its own people. These images have only just emerged. Abu Fazl's aunt, Gita, said the family began to look for the 17-year-old in the early hours.
They tried to call him, they tried to go to police station, detention centers, they tried to go to hospitals, any clinic around, but they weren't able to find him.
The boy's brother approached a vehicle that belonged to the mall.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
A couple of months ago, I think people think because that legislation passed a long time ago, but it had a sort of staged implementation, and it's only really been there a couple of months. So, but I mean, continually we're asking, the committee I represent are asking Ofcom to tighten what they're doing and to just do more to keep children safe.
My final question on this is just where you see the political balance on this. I mean, so many issues get very politicised, and I think even on the social media space, when it comes to sort of free speech, it's fairly politicised. When it comes to protecting young people online, is there at least hope that people are broadly united, broadly not sort of ideological about it, but much rather practical about it, or do you see this dividing quite a lot on party lines?
Well, you can cast it with party lines. You can do that today with the debate we've got and the vote we've got tonight. But on my committee, we've got all parties represented, and we all take this very seriously indeed. It's one of our most important priorities as a committee, and we will just continue to do what we can to try and keep children safe.
And you're looking at AI in particular, right?
Yes, that's a different inquiry. We're looking at AI and copyright at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Great to have you on the programme. Barbara Keeley there of that important House of Lords committee.
Now, it's almost 2 weeks since security forces in Iran opened fire on their own people in cities across the country. Relatively little is known about exactly what happened because the internet has been shut off for 13 days there.
But we are still getting some new footage coming through.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Just before I go back to putting the news on and carrying on with work, I mean, do I need to explain what's going on here all day, every day? Do I need to defend every fucking slanderous, abusive, vulgar comment thrown at me even whilst I'm not here? I mean, am I supposed to then just read this? It's insane. Anybody who actually knows me knows I've worked for most of my life up until COVID and the breakdown of my marriage and this situation just becoming an actual full-time job. I had a paper round when I was something ridiculous like 8 or 9 before school. Then when I was 13, maybe, I worked after school every day. After school, you can ask them, because when I had my fight, the one that they called me Tyson for, and it had nothing to do with biting ears, but there were lots and lots of people that saw that one. Everyone who keeps telling me. I went to work that day covered in blood. But yeah, I worked there for quite a while. The singer from a band called The Rips, actually, I worked with his aunt there, so you can check that one as well. I was kind of a groupie for them back in the day as well. So I've existed in these places, but I mean, they can verify these things. Then I was a head cashier in a bank until I was ready to pop with Amy. I couldn't even fit behind the till. I've been manager of a kitchen in a pub. I've done so many different fucking jobs. I've worked in childcare whilst I was pregnant with still breastfeeding my last child. You know, I've worked non-stop in various jobs throughout my life, even around having children. Then obviously it was a family business and a breakdown of the marriage. Who are you people to demand? And I'm always trying to do what is my actual work and figuring it out as I go along anyway. Now I'm very comfortable in what my work is, and now I have the tools to help me do it and to replace what should have been done or has been erased by you guys already. And you don't like that. So now it's mock Kaylee for using AI, because just Kaylee's a cunt for doing that when the whole world's doing it. But you're just still here just going to tell me that I've never worked, when everybody who knows me knows I've worked. My favourite job actually was being a fucking delivery driver for Asda. That was my favourite one, because I was just burning it about in a van. I loved that on my own, blaring like music, whatever I wanted to. I've loved the jobs where I've had solitude, to be fair. Getting into the mode in the kitchen, I love that, as stressful as it can be at times. running a kitchen completely on your own when you just get good at that anyway when you cook for a lot of people, which I did do for a long time. Wow, this is some sickness, isn't it? This is why I want this cunt dead. All day, every day, about my kids. You're so fucking guilty, aren't you? Your conscience is burning, isn't it, Lyndon? You're going to suffer so much, and you absolutely deserve it. And people need to see it so that they are deterred from doing what you've done. Really? This is what we're doing this morning, is it? This is the plastic policeman, by the way. Oh, yeah, because this is fitting. This is Mark Rowley. Rowley, how to say it? I don't even know. Don't care. Actually, isn't it? No, it's not Crowley. No, it's not Crowley. So many fucking names. So this is the plastic one that terrorizes traumatized women for a job, protects paedophiles, goes digging up dirt on children who have been victims of paedophilia to then publicly defend the paedophile, call the woman the perpetrator of a crime, and calling her a woman. That's what I meant to say first. Calling her a woman when she's a child. Conspires with other men to hoax and traumatize further traumatized women. This is what this man does as a job, and he calls himself the fucking hoax police. And he's dedicated years and years and years, 24/7, and he's still here now to go on about my children first thing in the morning, because that's all they've got now to try and still break me. All they can hurt me with is my children, because they know that's the only reason I'm here. But it's just become what it is now, because everybody else can see that that's what you've been doing for all of this time, and everybody else can also see that's the only reason I'm still here. Nobody in their right mind would take this, would they? All day, every day for so many years. Why would I if I didn't have children? You can't experience the love necessary to care about the rest of the world unless you've given birth to children. That's why no man's ever going to fucking save the planet as far as I'm concerned. They've just not got it in them to do what's necessary. Once you've given birth to children and you actually love them, not these faker mothers that are still too obsessed and addicted to their games or their narcissism or for whatever else that's still distracting them from their absolute ultimate job, protecting the most precious thing. It's no fucking anti-man. To be fair, what am I supposed to make of men after my experience on this planet? You all need help as far as I'm concerned, and you can't get that from each other. You can get that from God and accepting you've got problems and allowing women to help you. I think that's all that can happen. I think the earth itself needs an absolutely motherly energy at the moment, and it's up to you whether or not you accept. The truth is the truth. Normal people can see what's going on, and they're very much going to be able to see what's going on here. And you're still just in with your digs. I mean, do you think this is going to help you? Like, people are going to recognize you very soon. You're going to be known, and people will be looking for you. And it's not going to be to shake your hand, Lyndon. There's not much else I can do. You've literally, I don't know, you honestly at this point have got an absolute fucking death wish, and it doesn't need to be like that. But you're doing it to yourself.
And with it, of course, news stories. Our international correspondent, John Sparks, has been taking a look at one of them. So this is a 17-year-old boy who was killed in the crackdown and his family's attempt to try and get his body back.
A warning, his report does contain images viewers might find distressing.
Abu Fazl's family didn't want him to attend the protests on January the 8th, the night the regime opened fire on its own people. These images have only just emerged. Abu Fazl's aunt, Gita, said the family began to look for the 17-year-old in the early hours.
They tried to call him, they tried to go to police station, detention centers, they tried to go to hospitals, any clinic around, but they weren't able to find him.
The boy's brother approached a vehicle that belonged to the morgue. The crew were picking up bodies in the street.
They told him we have 3 kids inside the morgue vehicle. 2 of them, they do have their family. We know the names, but one of them is anonymous with no name. And he opened the body bag and it was the face of his brother. And they find him that night.
Neighbors told the family that they watched the young man die.
They were trying to hit him with anything that they had in their hand, with the boots, with the butt of their gun, with everything, while he was bleeding for 40 minutes. And he was gasping for life, right? And then he passed away.
More of John's report is available online, and we're going to be diving into it in a bit more detail next hour as well.
Yeah, just so many of these are awful stories coming out. John Scott's covering that one in particular. Time now to have a look at the weather.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
It's going to be mild and unsettled this week, turning colder over the weekend, and it will be quite windy through the rush hour with prolonged rain and some mountain snow over northeastern Scotland, more in southwest. In between, though, most places look pretty fine, bar the odd, mainly coastal shower. Eastern Scotland will see some rain and hill snow clearing to the far north by midday, leaving most northern and central parts fine. Ireland, Wales and southern and central England, meanwhile, will see rain spreading from the southwest with brighter skies and a scattering of blustery showers following to the west coast of the country. It will be mild but windy, with coastal gales likely in the southwest and northeast.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News weather.
Coming up, we're talking movies. We're in award season, so we'll talk to the Chief Executive of BAFTA, Jane Millichip, about this year's ceremony.
First Minister, how are you?
Good morning, good morning.
Nice to see you.
How are you feeling? Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
No, it's an important day today.
All the claims are in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Connor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He's a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial. He was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all. My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
A little bit scared at the minute. We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Connor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It's probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death.
Scotland has a shameful record. Worse than England, the worst in Europe. Why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder.
Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
Miami.
Free wherever you get your news. It's over, isn't it? The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster.
This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country.
A dangerous murderer.
Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me.
I'm so grateful.
Sky News, the full story first.
People that pod together, they have a little hive brain going on. They've not had a good week.
I've had a good week. There's a teaser there. A teaser.
Okay, nothing to see here. Drama over. Full stop. Anyway, we'll get to that. She will be mortified.
So she's the first female chancellor.
I popped upstairs, made myself a cheese sandwich, and now I'm with you.
Annalise has come dressed in the magenta of electoral dysfunction. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'll take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Being a Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped?
Hello again. It's now been a year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, and we can't stop talking about him because he keeps doing things that affect all of us. This is just another week where world affairs have been driven by the actions of the president. It's almost too much to keep up with.
Well, our US correspondent Mark Stone has been looking back at the last 12 months, and here's a sizzle of his full report, which is well worth watching online.
Donald J. Trump.
This is going to be great television, I will say that. You don't have the cards right now.
Many points were agreed to. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Indonesia, Malaysia.
The longest federal government shutdown
is passed. Came into our country illegally. We're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
I'm not the only one who
This took 3,000 years. Moment for America.
They've been after this guy for years and years.
The greatest for a spectacular civilization, fair and reciprocal. Never bend and never yield. I love this country. America is back.
It's been an extraordinary 12 months. So much, so fast, so easy to miss the significance of moments that we're all living through. Easy, actually, to normalize it all. And so a year since his inauguration, let's take stock of this Trump presidency. Pause, reflect, project. Where does all this take America and the rest of us?
as we said, well worth watching Mark's full report on that first year in office for Donald Trump, Mark II. It's available on the Sky News website and app, and we'll continue building up the coverage, of course, ahead of Donald Trump's speech in Davos later this afternoon. Now, this year's BAFTAs get underway next month, and the ceremony will be hosted by the Traitors US and Good Wife star Alan Cumming. Nominations are announced next week, with the stars of Hamnet and Marty Supreme among the favourites to win. Delighted to say, joining us now to talk more about that and the work that BAFTA does more broadly is the Chief Exec of BAFTA, Jane Millerchip. Jane, very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So we were just talking, so you announced the nominees for all of the awards next Tuesday.
Correct.
And then the awards themselves are on the 22nd of February. It's kind of a reminder of how intense the period is. So all of your voters will have to cast their votes in a sort of month space of time.
Yeah, well, we encourage them to watch as many films and go to the cinema as much as they can, particularly in the fourth quarter of the year. The first round of voting is around Christmas time, and then we produce what we call the long list, which I think is a great thing to celebrate because when anybody says to me during the year, what can you recommend a watch list? I always say, go back to the BAFTA long list. It's brilliant. It's varied. It's full of rich storytelling. And then we move to nominations, and we announce those on Tuesday, and then our voters have another opportunity to vote before the awards themselves on the 22nd of Feb.
You obviously sit between the Globes, the Golden Globes that we've already had, and the Oscars to come. How important is that, and how strategic for itself and British film, a significant place on the agenda?
It's very strategic, and we work quite closely with the other awards bodies so that we don't, so that we all have a good date, as it were, and we collaborate with them because it's in all our interest that we all succeed. And for some years now, BAFTA has gone about 3 weeks before the Oscars, and we're seen increasingly as a bellwether for the Oscars. But we are probably the biggest international film awards alongside those big award ceremonies in the States, and we celebrate international film. But what makes us different is our Britishness, and we have a couple of categories in which we celebrate British film, outstanding British film and outstanding debut. And so it's a really rich mix of British talent, and it's amazing. We get full support from the US studios, which is fantastic, and many of those US studios have supported British film this year. So it's really a global community, but we really want to foreground British talent.
It's interesting because we can all get a bit depressed about how well or not the economy is doing at certain points, but this is an industry where we are as good as any nation, perhaps the best in the world. And we certainly punch above our weight on a sort of relative to population type basis.
Absolutely. I mean, the creative industries are worth about 125 billion to the UK, which is extraordinary. And you've seen in recent years that US studios have been building increasingly studios all over the UK. Our talent pipeline is seen as exceptional, particularly our craft. And we do punch above our weight. And we are influential in our storytelling. If you just look at the films in the long list at the moment, extraordinary talent. So yeah, it's really important to the UK culturally. It's really important to the world culturally, and definitely to the economy.
I guess a lot of people do think of BAFTA as the awards ceremony, but it's much more than that.
Yes.
What are some of the other kind of headline things that you spend some of the money you raise on?
Well, we're a big arts charity, and we also represent film, games and television. So we're unusual in that we support 3 sectors in the screen arts. But we run a number of talent programmes in which we look to level the playing field in the screen arts, provide opportunity particularly for underrepresented groups. We have refreshed our membership in recent years to ensure that it is representative of the population as a whole. Representation matters because if we invite into the community of the screen arts as many people as we can, and talented people from all quarters of society, the stories they tell are then more representative and connect more with audiences. But we run bursary scholarships in career acceleration programmes, a whole suite of programmes.
I guess the framing I think many would have is that there was great progress in the industry for decades on that, and that it's tailed off or plateaued. Is that fair or not?
Well, I think the screen industry is going through ebbs and flows. In television at the moment, there are challenges with the downturn in advertising, and I think there has been particular challenges with the freelance sector. So we're turning our attention on a lot of our talent schemes to try and help freelancers particularly navigate careers that we need to try and make sustainable and agile. But yeah, there are peaks and troughs in the industry. I've been around long enough to see both many times. But I think the cultural sector in the UK needs support. It's really important culturally, socially, as well as economically. And we've got a lot of talent here, and we've got an amazing pipeline that we need to continue to foster, all the way from creative arts in schools through to in-career development programmes.
I had one quick final question. There's a Netflix are in the process potentially of buying Warner Brothers Discovery. It's a complicated kind of battle at the moment. Some question whether that would push more Warner Brothers, a film studio, to the small screen. Where do you stand on important?
And in our awards, our entry criteria And so we do support the theatres and cinema going, but it's part of a mix nowadays. And you know, the streamers have put a lot of investment into filmmaking, which is very welcome. But if you can go to the cinemas, please go. And I was talking to some of your team in the green room earlier, and they were waxing lyrically about the films they'd seen at the cinema this weekend. So
there are some good ones this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
there are.
I went to see Master Supreme recently. It was very, very good. We're out of time. Jane, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Jane Millership, the Chief Executive of BAFTA. Lots more still to come next hour.
Yeah, an awful lot going on, of course, with a focus on Davos. Donald Trump's heading there, this summer isn't, but look, there's going to be an awful lot of focus on kind of New World Order, if you like, and how to handle the threats the US president's made on Greenland in particular.
We're going to continue build up to President Trump's address in Davos after the break and reflect on some domestic news, including the inflation print after this break.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so yeah, hello, welcome. Westminster, the hearts of British politics. I'm so sorry about what happened to me. So
What do you reckon I should do then? Drop her a line or just pop round with a decent packet of biscuits? We'll spit it out.
So now you're incompetent as well as a liar.
This man who you're great mate with, thief and extorter, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a murderer.
Same old Peggy, innit? Everyone else's fault.
You invited him in for coffee.
Same old Peggy, innit? Same old Peggy, innit? No one cares what you think. Same old Peggy, innit? We'll spit it out.
Between you and me and the gatepost, she's quite keen on him, but you know her, she won't let on.
I feel like a film star. I'd like to see that film, though.
I made a mistake on a cake, and you half killed me.
And when you've done that, you can empty the bins and clean out the sink. It's £4.50 you've made, mate.
For coffee.
It's £4.50 you've made, mate.
No one cares what you think.
We'll spit it out.
bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubted man.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubted man.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubted man.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubted man.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
with my children. She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt, doesn't it?
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children. She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt, doesn't it?
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children. She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt, doesn't it?
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children. She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a doubt, doesn't it?
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children. She's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles, knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad.
Oh my God.
So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. Knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad.
Oh my God.
So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. Knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad.
Oh my God.
So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it? Voldemort. That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. Knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
It's really unusual. Mornings with Richard Frost. Come, let's get started.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the World Wide Web. Waiting to open our kids' door.
Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? Where did all the nonsense go? In 1984.
Lurking on the World Wide Web. Lurking on the
Good morning, it's 9 o'clock. Welcome to Mornings with Rich and Frost.
We've taken Wolf. Good morning from the both of us. Lots to get to in Davos.
President Trump is bound for Davos, but he'll arrive to a wall of European defiance as leaders there join Canada in anger over his tariffs.
We stand ready to defend ourselves, our member states, our citizens, our companies against any form of coercion.
But as the fight back begins against Donald Trump, Keir Starmer maintains a gentler approach, and he's still, of course, notably absent from the economic summit.
Also today, a finger prick blood test could be an early warning sign for children with type 1 diabetes.
Plus, the debate continues about whether to ban social media for under 16s. We've been asking teenagers in Australia whether their ban is working 6 weeks on.
And we're building up to what could be a blockbuster briefing from Ryanair's boss, Michael O'Leary, who's had an online spat with Elon Musk over the last couple of weeks. He's holding a press conference about it shortly.
Good morning, welcome to the programme. Donald Trump is on his way to Davos, where he's going to be joining world leaders at the World Economic Forum in, look, it's a critical moment for the future of the transatlantic alliance.
Well, before leaving Washington, the president said that the world would find out when asked how far he was willing to go to acquire Greenland. He'll make a speech later today.
And the mood in Davos is pretty serious, as you'd expect, because the stakes are so high. This morning, there's already been some tough talk from European leaders, both from Davos and also Strasbourg today.
We must deal with the world as it is now. Which brings me to the second reality and imperative for Europe, and that is to speed up our push for independence. Whether in our economy or in our security, whether on technology or democracy, we have to be strong in shaping ourselves if we don't want to shape the world around us. Greenland is home to a free and sovereign people. It is a nation with its sovereignty and its right to territorial integrity, and the future of Greenland is only for the Greenlanders to decide.
We are united around the principles of international law, territorial integrity, and national sovereignty. Second, we are united in full support and solidarity with the Kingdom of Denmark and with Greenland. Only they, Denmark and Greenland, can decide on their future. Third, we recognize that there is a shared transatlantic interest in peace and security in the Arctic, notably working through NATO. Fourth, further tariffs would undermine transatlantic relations and are incompatible with the EU-US agreement. Fifth, we stand ready to defend ourselves, our member states, our citizens, our companies against any form of coercion. And the European Union has the power and the tools to do so.
Look, I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that those kind of post-war alliances, consensuses are now been looked at with fresh eyes by just about everybody. That is the backdrop to Donald Trump arriving in Davos and giving the speech that he's going to be doing.
Yeah, he's going to be giving that speech a little bit later than expected today after his flight was turned around 40 minutes in. Be there a bit later than expected. I don't think we have his.
Davos, the biggest networking event on the planet. It's where the global elites come. And frankly, Donald Trump and his populist administration enjoy coming here. This will be his third Davos cam. A couple of days going to be late, as you say, because of those technical issues with his aircraft. And European leaders are holding their breath. Donald Trump, in that astonishing press conference, that impromptu press conference, the sort of press conference he holds before he leaves for a trip, made some striking remarks, and he doubled down on his ambition to acquire Greenland. And yesterday, we did hear Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, used quite tough words. He said that the world order, the sort of world order as we've known it, is finished, and we shouldn't pretend like it still exists. Emmanuel Macron sent a very similar message. He said that, you know, we don't appreciate bullying. So they are not necessarily using Donald Trump's name, but they're sending very direct messages to him. But the question is, will Europe stand firm? Will they remain defiant? Or will they find themselves in a position where they frankly have to strike some kind of deal with Donald Trump? You know, this conference this year was supposed to focus on a deal over Ukraine, offering security guarantees, offering an aid package to Ukraine. That is now on hold. The United States didn't send a representative on Monday to meetings here with the rest of Europe to discuss plans for Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky was a keynote speaker here last year, and now there are questions being asked about the future of NATO and how dangerous this moment is, not just for Europe, not just for the Western alliance, but for the future of NATO. And certainly that is music to the ears of the Chinese, the Russians, who are not really having to do much, but are being gifted this tension, this wedge that has been created between the United States and Europe, not because Europe has wanted it, but frankly because Donald Trump is saying to the global elites who have gathered here, you know, America first doesn't necessarily mean America alone, but it certainly means that perhaps the Western world is now alone.
Well, Yada mentioned there the way in which Ukraine and its potential 80 billion of funding had been top of the agenda before the week started and has dropped off the agenda. We're going to talk about that with Deborah Haynes in Kiev in just a moment. But we also, before we get to that, just wanted to show the latest on the Chagos Islands, which, of course, Donald Trump changed his tune on 36 hours ago. Well, this morning, we've heard more about this from the US perspective. The US Treasury Secretary was speaking an hour or two ago.
President Trump has made it clear that we will not outsource our national security or our hemispheric security to any other countries. Our partner, the UK, is letting us down with the base on Diego Garcia, which we had shared together for many, many years, and they want to turn it over to Mauritius. So President Trump is serious here.
That was US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent a few hours ago. Deborah Haynes joins us now from Kiev. Deborah, I want to talk about Ukraine in a moment, but first, really keen to get your take on this Chagos Island stuff. I mean, everyone can see how impossible it must be for the UK and others to deal with the US administration when they can turn their position so overtly on something like this in the space of 6 months. What secretly are the military UK voices saying about this? Do they want this deal to go through? Is it still ultimately expected to go through as agreed many weeks and months ago?
Well, as you're hearing publicly from politicians, there's obviously a division over what the right thing to do is. Labour and the government clearly weighed up the arguments and decided that the most secure way to guarantee that this critical base in Diego Garcia, is a UK-US military base, will be able to remain is by signing this deal with Mauritius, which basically involves leasing that territory for the next century. And there's been a dangling threat of legal action over the future of the Chagos Islands for a long time, and that has been why not just this government, but the previous government under the Conservatives have been looking at it. And for the military, they obviously want to have the security that they can continue to use the base, but nobody is happy at the idea of jeopardy when it comes to the future ability of the UK military and its US allies to be able to keep operating off Diego Garcia. And that's where the bind is. And actually, you're hearing it incredibly bluntly then from the US side, saying that the UK has let them down. That is going to be incredibly alarming language for the UK because, let's face it, since the end of the Second World War, the UK has formulated its entire military and security posture on the belief, on the understanding that the US would always be on its side. If that is not the case, if there is a future where, obviously we're looking a lot at NATO, and it clearly applies for NATO too, but the UK has this uniquely close bond with the US. It relies on the US to enable most of its military capabilities to operate properly, to operate fully, and to be able to fight. And so a future in which the US and the UK have a rupture is one that is incredibly daunting. And clearly inside the MOD and the Foreign Office, they will be trying to keep calm and hope that they can bring this back from the brink. But it really does expose the incredible vulnerability that the UK has when it comes to ensuring the US is a tight, close friend.
Yeah, Deborah, I mean, you just laid it out, haven't you? Just what a huge, potentially consequential moment this is, not just for the individual issues, but for the whole of the UK's defence position as well. And I guess it has implications for Ukraine as well. You're obviously in Kyiv. Can Europe rely on the United States to effectively, be the policeman of the world?
Well, yeah, I mean, here in Ukraine, they are feeling incredibly isolated. There was a real ambition at the Davos summit for President Zelensky to travel there, meet with Donald Trump. There was a lot of work's been going on to finalise this prosperity package. It's a 10-year package, $800 billion, that is all designed to lock in US investment to a future secure Ukraine. And there is, of course, as well, the US-Ukraine bilateral agreement, including security guarantees. These are all things that European allies and the Ukrainians have been wanting to secure at the same time as, obviously, Donald Trump is looking to oversee some kind of peace deal. But of course, you've also got this board of peace cropping up and the Ukrainians being invited to be part of that alongside Vladimir Putin. And that's going down as well as you can imagine, as in really badly.
That's great stuff. Thanks so much, Deborah Haynes, there for us in Kiev this morning. again, so linked to all that's going on further afield in foreign affairs. Now, the Office for National Statistics has published its inflation data for December. The figure was 3.4% for December, slightly higher than expected. The forecast was for 3.3%. It was up from 3.2% in November. Tobacco taxes and higher travel costs over the Christmas period were two of the reasons behind it. Of course, as you can see from that chart, it shows a slight tick back up in the direction of travel right at the end of that chart and further away from that 2% inflation target, but it's still lower than the August-September peak last year, or short-term peak of 3.8%. And it is expected to fall again closer to the 2% of target by the spring. No rate cuts expected for next month, given though that's slightly higher than expected, reading at 3.4%.
And really, I guess that just underlines why the government is so concerned about the cost of living. They're unveiling their Warm Homes plan today, which is effectively money grants to help people get things like solar panels and heat pumps in their house, but it's all being framed through helping with bills, helping with the cost of living.
The aim is to provide £15 billion to overhaul households across the UK in the next 5 years. Well, our political correspondent Alex Rogers is here with all the details of this. Alex, what's been announced?
So the government's just announcing more support, basically making it a bit more viable for people to buy these heat pumps and solar panels. So grants that you were saying up to, I think, £5 billion for some households for solar panels and low-income households. So really just putting the emphasis back on the cost of living and what the government's doing domestically. It's been trying to get that message out since the beginning of the year, but has been unable to because of global events.
It feels like there's been a shift in tone. Do you think that's fair? Like between the days when they're talking all about the kind of net zero and the need to go green, and now it's all about this is going to help you with your bills.
I think the language around this has really changed. I didn't see many references to net zero there, but it is all about the cost of living and lowering bills. And I think that's because net zero has become quite politicised over the past few years. It's become less popular. Reform and the Tories have really hammered it as a kind of policy that's going to hit ordinary working people. So it makes sense that if the government's trying to talk about how they can improve people's lives, they might not want to mention net zero.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely.
Thanks, Christoph. Thanks so much. Now, all children in the UK could be screened for type 1 diabetes using a finger prick test following a landmark study.
So the idea is to stop like a sudden diagnosis, a crash landing, if you like, and then identify the disease before children actually get symptoms.
Well, Sadia joins us with more details of this. So what exactly is the condition we're talking about, and what's the development with this prick test?
So this is for type 1 diabetes, and currently researchers say far too many children, which is a quarter of children who are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, are diagnosed at a stage when they're already in a medical emergency. And so the idea behind this is to try and see whether a finger prick blood test on children could become an effective tool for all children and to be rolled out across. The study says it is an effective tool, which means we may see a situation one day when we see this as a national sort of rollout. Early diagnosis is key because between knowing that you've got type 1 diabetes and becoming reliant on insulin, that stage is really key. And for children especially, to know how to do their test, when to do it. And certain drugs can be added in as treatments then to delay that reliance on insulin. But it also gives a chance for health workers and parents and families to better support children during that stage. So this study was conducted and led by the University of Birmingham. It's being described as a landmark study. It looked at children between the ages of 3 and 13 who don't have type 1 diabetes. They provided a finger prick blood sample, which was then checked for the antibodies that are associated with people with pre-symptomatic diabetes. And the children who were identified as having a risk to type 1 diabetes were then invited for further blood tests and sugar tolerance tests. More than 17,000 tests were analysed, and more than 200 children were found to be at risk or to have those markers in their blood to suggest that they are at risk. Next up is phase 2, which is going to last for 4 years, and that will see NHS pre-diabetes clinics set up for children in the areas where those studies were being conducted. In the future, the hope is to delay that treatment that relies on insulin and to have other treatments in place first. And then the UK could potentially join Italy, which was the first country to introduce a national rollout for this scheme.
So great stuff. Thank you so much.
We've been talking about a potential ban on social media for under-16s. It's something the government here is consulting on, so they're definitely considering it. And it's been 6 weeks now in Australia, so we thought it was a good time to kind of take a check, really, and find out how it's going there. As always, when we cover the story, the inbox lights up, and it lights up with people who are, frankly, in favour of a ban. We just wanted to give you a bit of the reaction that's been coming in. We've had a couple of emails from people from Australia as well. So this is Tom from Australia who said, one of the recurring questions seems to be whether the ban is effective in completely stopping kids from accessing platforms. Tom goes on to say, from what we've seen here, the honest answer is not perfectly, but he says that misses the bigger point. It's similar to when underage smoking laws were introduced because teenagers could still find ways around it, but the real impact was setting a clear societal standard about what was acceptable. It shifted expectations and social norms over time. So look, people are going to get around it, but that doesn't mean it's not going to have an impact as well. Gemma emailed in, again, someone who strongly supports the ban, who says, as a mum of a 13-year-old, I've been doing everything in my power to keep them off social media, implementing strict parental controls at home, but then finding out that her kid had found a way around the controls. She said a simple policy won't suffice. They only teach children that they can break the law without consequences. So she's in favour of a ban, but she just says that actually, look, we need to just really kind of toughen it up to make sure it works. And then finally, we got this in from Sheila, who had a suggestion of her own. Why doesn't the government set up a site that allows social media for school children, controlling what time it's available each day, the way their screen time can be controlled, only accessible in certain hours? And she also said it's a way to only allow certain subjects like ads, focusing on child safety organisations.
It is, you're right, it always lights up the inbox this. Also highlights, maybe not surprisingly, but we've got quite a few viewers in Australia.
Yeah.
My favourite one from Australia this morning comes from Mike Hawke, which is also quite a good Australian name. Sounds like the opening batsman for the cricket team, who just says, thanks, just says, I live down under and I really love your show.
Yeah, we like that.
Cheers, Mike.
Thanks for watching. Don't email us about the Ashes, though.
I was going to say, we'll let you win the Ashes for more praise like that. Anyway, great to get your emails. Always get in touch, more at sky.uk.
So, 'cause I am yours and you are mine. I'll hold you, my
Private sessions, thank you, Jake. Ghetto you, Clark, will be having in the future. I felt it always a privilege to listen to two great minds discussing topical issues that were 5 years
Look at me, my dear. I love you so, 'cause I am yours and you are mine. I'll hold you, my dear.
Private sessions, thank you, Jake. Ghetto you, Clark, will be having in the future. I felt it always a privilege to listen to two great minds discussing topical issues that were 5 years
They also make shoes of the skin of the baby's skin. They got a special tool and they put it in the skin and it, like in the baby's skin, and then they pull it off. And then they stick it because the blood is kind of sticky, and stick it on
make
the
shoe, the sole,
on the
and
flip flops. They stick it on the flip flops.
They got flip flops and like those shoes, like
be
the
home,
one that I like,
hiding
the
under
ones
your
that I
pillow.
showed my mom.
But remember,
in the
guys,
shoe
these
shop
people are
in
being
Grand
paid to
Cross.
well,
Those
90
ones with
to
this
95% of these
big
people are
star,
being paid to do
and it
this.
is
Some are
baby skin,
probably
but it's
doing it
not
for
like-
free because they really
it's
don't like
not-
you,
it's-
but
you
I'm
can
just
do it
saying,
coloured.
90%
It's not like- it's a
of the
big
gang
see-through
stalkers that are watching you, surveillance,
Yes, it's skin.
and all that stuff,
Okay, well, sorry to-
they're being
a
paid
big
to do
black,
this. It's
star,
not
it was-
personal. So remember, their purpose is to knock you off your block, to disrupt your flow, to bother you, disrupt your sleep, disrupt your peace. And it's any means necessary. Let's say if you kept, to all my gang stalked or target individuals, the target of the gang stalker is to put fear in you. They want you to be scared. They want you to be home, hiding under your pillow. But remember, guys, these people are being paid to do, well, 90 to 95% of these people are being paid to do this. Some are probably doing it for free because they really don't like you. But I'm just saying, 90% of the gang stalkers that are watching you, surveillance and all that stuff, they're being paid to do this. It's not personal. So remember, their purpose is to knock you off your block, to disrupt your flow, to bother you, disrupt your sleep, disrupt your peace. And it's any means necessary. Let's say if you kept, to all my gang stalked or target individuals, the target of the gang stalker is to put fear in you. They want you to be scared. They want you to be home, hiding under your pillow. But remember, guys, these people are being paid to do, well, 90 to 95% of these people are being paid to do this. Some are probably doing it for free because they really don't like you. But I'm just saying, 90% of the gang stalkers that are watching you, surveillance and all that stuff, They're being paid to do this. It's not personal. So remember, their purpose is to knock you off your block, to disrupt your flow, to bother you, disrupt your sleep, disrupt your
Now let's just ride on highs while the moment's right. No, don't you fold my wings for the fear of flight in your eyes. You curl up guards while I ponder death. It feels like this war is our dawning. Don't let that lie outrun us yet. It feels like this war is our dawning. Waking up to find a forest. Summon your sight to get us now. Reaching out to find me lawless. Summon the fight to get us out. When all the world rained down on our safety's hood, it left me lying out with a pail of blood. Oh brother, come be my keeper, hold me dear. I'll let the winter start when I say I stood for us. You curl up gods while I ponder death. It feels like this war is our dawning. Don't let that lie outrun us yet. It feels like this war is our dawning. Waking up to find a forest. Summon your sight to get us now. Reaching out to find me lawless. Summon the fight to get us out. Forcing out, forcing out. Find the reach and want it. Out in front I see light. Forcing out, forcing. Find the reach and hold it. All it takes to be alive. You curled up gods while I ponder death. Feels like this war is our dawning. Don't let that lie outrun us yet. It feels like this war is our dawning.
Hi, hope you're doing really well. There's only one person shown at the moment. Hopefully the numbers will go up. It's the 20th of January, 2026. Please tap the likes as much as you can. Share this out. This is incredibly important information I'm going to be showing you this evening. And whilst I'm waiting just for the numbers to go up, I'm just going to go into a little bit of a summary. I'm very sorry I'm a little bit late. I was trying to prepare and wanted to make sure I had lots of things ready to show you this evening, so I do apologise. Just, you know what it's like, where you just rushing to get things done, etc. And I was having quite a long chat with somebody earlier as well, which was good to speak to them. So thank you very much. Hopefully they're watching the live. So for those who don't know me, I'm Gary Waterman. I am a former UK police constable, was in the police for 18 years. And I joined Kent Police initially in 2000. And I don't think anything that I'm going to be telling you is a coincidence this evening. And I think you're going to probably agree with that with some of the stuff I'm going to show you. I then transferred to Dorset in 2006 without knowing anybody down there whatsoever, to Dorset Police. And I worked in Bournemouth. And then in around 2010, I then worked at Christchurch, which is about 7 or so miles away from Bournemouth. And in 2018, I voluntarily resigned from the police, not realising that it was to do with all of this, what I was going to uncover. Anyway, when I'd moved down in 2006, in 2007, the year afterwards, I was introduced, and I now believe this was all staged, potentially. If not, then it's a divine intervention, but the evidence certainly suggests that a lot of it was staged, to Exbourne Manor, which is a block of flats in Bournemouth, where I ended up buying a flat in 2007. And the same year, I was introduced to my wife, Lisa Morton. And we then were very fortunate to be able to travel quite a lot. I took a career break. So in 2014, I took a year off work and we went traveling in a camper van, and I kept extending it for a year. So we ended up having 3.5 years off of the police. I had 3.5 years away from the police. They then refused to acknowledge another year, which is fair enough. There's you can take up to 5 years in the police. So I went back, not really wanting to, and trying to see if I could not go back, but I decided to go back anyway and see what it was like. And I went back for about 6 months, and I ended up resigning in 2018. Anyway, in 2022, we ended up living back in Exbourne Manor, the block of flats where I purchased the flat in 2007. And it was a bit before that we moved in. It was about 2021, I believe, that we moved back in. And then 2022, because of a roofing project that we'd had done on the building, which was very expensive, and me being a director for the company that oversees it, I started to ask questions about the finances and wanted to see our bank accounts. So that was in July 2022. And that is what really triggered this whole investigation, which now is linking into the most important evidence possibly in human history, certainly since the creation of humanity, because it has now exposed an international criminal system linking into the Vatican and a massive deception against all of humanity, and how this ties into potentially falsified prophecies, nuclear weapons, directed energy threat, crimes against children, international drug trafficking, people trafficking, international conflicts, terrorism, serial killers, missing children, just pretty much all of the world's problems. Even potentially the technology, which could be a deception, which we're going to sort of potentially touch on this evening, that could create natural disasters deliberately around the world. And this was a gradual obtaining of this evidence. It started with me wanting to view the bank documents. This led to multiple resignations within Exbourne Manor, which we're going to touch on in a minute. And I'm going to show you some faces of people and a clip, if it works, of a meeting that I called to remove 2 of the directors. All right, so I'm going to actually show you that part, some clips of that meeting this evening, because it becomes very relevant in everything I'm going to show you. And eventually this escalated. I obviously reported it to the relevant organisations, initially Action Fraud in December 2022. And around that time, it was actually 2 months before that, an interfaith meeting appears to have taken place with a guy called Pietro Parolin that links back in with the Vatican. And then this links in with Jeff Bezos and back to Christchurch, where I worked. Anyway, obviously the Queen supposedly died in September, 8th of September 2022, as I was exposing it. Early 2022, when I was asking the questions in Exbourne Manor, is when the special military operation was announced by Vladimir Putin, which is all to do with this. That was in, I think it was the 21st of February, I believe, 2022. I haven't got it in front of me, but I know it was February. Now, this starts to lead you into the connections to the Vatican and the falsified prophecies that they were trying to bring about, and potentially how this all links in with something they might know about me. As things went on, so going back to the latter part of 2022, obviously the Queen died, as I said. Elon Musk wore Baphomet, which is a symbol of the Church of Satan, to a Halloween party. He also then started to acquire Twitter and transfer it to X. They set up an article where they were moving red heifers from Texas to Israel, which ties in with the falsified prophecies in the Third Temple. So this was all in 2022. There's a lot more stuff as well, such as a drone company being bought by Elon Musk's brother. We also had what appears to be an important experiment by CERN in the same month of July 2022, which was when Anthony Roberts, the acting chairman who had approached, resigned. And they also removed the Georgia Guidestones that same month, which represent an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event where supposedly it was inscribed with them saying there was going to be a reduction down in the world's population to 500 million, which is obviously a lot, vastly less than what we're led to believe there are now. So anyway, things escalated. 2023. So I was reporting all of this to Action Fraud, first of all, in December 2022. And loads of movement start taking place that month, okay, including within the Pizzagate scandal, Companies House research, which pertained to the alleged potential deception, but potential skinning of children alive and the torturing of children and the blood of tortured children and sacrifices, etc. So then 2023, I then was continuing to report this. I reported it into Dorset Police. They initially confirmed that they'd identified fraud, but then refused to investigate it properly. I then had 2 emails inadvertently confirming that they were allowing forged bank documents to be produced by the banks. So I then knew that the police were involved in this. That was from my own former police force. So I escalated it to the Serious Fraud Office and the Independent Office for Police Conduct. They refused to intervene and insisted that Dorset Police deal with it, even though I had this information and started to find... so I had the emails confirming inadvertently they were allowing the banks to produce the forged bank documents. And it was not long afterwards I found connections into the police from Exbourne Manor into the MPs, councillors, etc. for the area. So anyway, escalated it through the Serious Fraud Office, Independent Office, Police Conduct. As I said, they refused to intervene. Escalated it to the Home Office, who oversee all of the constabularies within the UK, so the police forces in the United Kingdom. They refused to intervene and insisted that the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners deal with it. Now, the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, I'd already started to establish were linked through the Companies House records to Exbourne Manor. Okay, so I knew they were compromised by the international government fraud that I was starting to uncover. Eventually, because of this reaction by the Home Office, I knew it was going to be something bigger. So I delved into the Companies House records, trying to find what it was, and found the key, which is where our governments have been involved in the largest international government criminal conspiracy of fraud against humanity for a very long time by forging the Companies House registration systems to create criminal fraudulent entity companies. And this then linked back into the Vatican because they started to make the Companies House register electronic in 1992, which is the same year that the Catholic Church became a legal entity, moving in towards the World Trade Center disaster deception of 2001, 9 years later. And then the year before 1992, I established that this is when the David Icke came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis, and he's linked into the intelligence agencies. So, because the Companies House, well, it's not ironic. It's all meant to be, because this is how, through the electronic register, that I identified the forgery into the international government system, which they started to create as the Catholic Church became a legal entity, so linking in with the Vatican. And this is why everyone around me is linked into connections into the Vatican and the royal family. All 3 of my families link in with David Icke, Elon Musk, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, the main Freemasons Lodge, Julian Assange and a doomsday cult, which then links back into the doomsday clock, which was actually originally created in 1947. And there's when you start, you look back then, you then link loads of other stuff into it, such as, for example, UNICEF, which is the organization that supposedly is to help children around the world in times of conflicts in particular, was founded in 1946, along with the Tavistock Institute, which appears to be a mind control program that was actually then integrated into the NHS In 1947, you had the Doomsday Clock was created, and 1947 is when the NHS began. 1948 is when the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom began, which is the same year as the Israel-Arab War. It all ties in with the deception going back to the Reformation, all right, in the 13th century, linking in with the Knights Templar, the Vatican, and a German company that called Gutenberg's, which started to create the control of all of information. They started printing the religious material back in the 13th century, according to the research, which allowed, of course, the control and centralization of information from right back then. And this is when governments was being formed, okay, which means, if you translate it from the Latin, it means mind control. So anyway, this was, where was I going with that? So, yeah, so I then established what they were doing, this forgery, and it just snowballed and snowballed from there. I tried to get in MPs involved, outspoken MPs. Nigel Farage, found out he was involved. I tried getting the media involved, found out obviously all of the media was implicated in it as well, all now tying back into the Vatican and the centralized control that I've just told you about, because it all goes back to the 13th century. And then it links in with the Maxwells coming into, before the World War I, the control of all of information via a German company again, which then links into the Maxwells, and all then linking in with Israel and the Balfour Declaration of 1917, which is when they started fomenting the Israel deception that you're all seeing now going on. And it all links in with, and I'm going to get into the evidence in a minute of what we're going to be talking about, but I just think to give you a little bit of a back sort of story in all of this, 1870 appears to be a critical year, which research suggests that they infiltrated the Vatican city, and they segregated and almost imprisoned the popes within the Vatican City. Now, this is when the German banking organization, Commerzbank, was actually founded, and it's the oldest German bank, according to the research. And they were the first certainly the first bank, German bank, but I think it was one of the first big German organizations that actually had a branch in New York. And obviously this then links back into the World Trade Center disaster and everything I'm telling you, and how it links into the collider technology and the supposed collider technology and the relativistic heavy ion collider, which started to be constructed in New York in 1991. Okay, so going back to 1991, which is what I told you, David Icke came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. He links in with the intelligence agencies. The relativistic heavy ion collider started to be built then, and it was first activated in 2000, the year before the World Trade Center disaster. And it's all connected. This is all linked into everything, okay, that we're going to be talking about. So Commerzbank was founded in 1870, the same year as the apparent infiltration of the Vatican City and the control over religion again from back then. And there was a guy called Marcel, strange surname, who appears to have been a good guy in all of this, linked into the Vatican, that was trying to oppose a modernization of the Vatican City and the religion aspect around the Catholic Church. And he died in 1991. And this infiltration of the Vatican City links in with the Freemasons, and the Freemasons are massively implicated in this, and I still stand by they all need to be arrested, because they are part of the biggest deception of all of humanity, and linking into the international fraud, which is all completely against the creator, because it's against moral conscience. Whatever it is their motive is, whether it's a spiritual conclusive agenda, they still have a criminal system in place which has enabled them to launder money from the masses in relation to the criminal network around the world. So where was I going with that? So 1870 was this year. Also, this is when, which links in with Donald Trump's background now, okay, the Munich area and the Bavaria area of Germany became part of the new German Empire in 1870. Well, this is where Donald Trump's family is from. His grandfather, called Arthur Trump, was living in that area. his mum, Donald Trump's mum, then ended up living on the Isle of Lewis off the coast of Scotland, which links in with Jimmy Savile, because Jimmy Savile ended up, and we're going to come to Jimmy Savile in a minute, of critical evidence. Jimmy Savile lived in Glencoe towards the end of his life, which is where the Flemings had lived, okay, some of the Fleming family. As I said, his mum lived on Lewis, which is an island off the coast of Scotland. So it all links in with Scotland now, okay, and the islands. And she then emigrated to America when she was around 18 years old, which is when she then met her Donald Trump's father. Now, her name was MacLeod, which links in with the clans of Scotland, historical clans, as well as other clans such as the MacCallum, I think it's MacCallum and MacLellan as well, and various other clans that seem to be linking in with this. And I'm now finding connections to those clans back in with the rapid response teams, which then connects back in with my families and the research surrounding this, and my family's link in with the Knights Templar. So where was it going with this? So we have this connection to 1870, a very important year. Well, of course, 1871 is when the Albert Pike letter appears to have been written to Mazzini to set up the Three World War deception. And it's no coincidence that 1871 was 100 years before the World Economic Forum was formed. It appears they've planned things, and a lot of it's like 100 years apart. So, for example, the Titanic disaster, 1912, and then 2012, CERN supposedly discovering the Higgs boson, a God particle, the same year that you had the Olympics in London, and they held the water sports element of that in Weymouth, which is in Dorset, which links in massively back into Titanic. Deborah Fleming was the NHS chief executive for Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset. Hampshire is where the Titanic sailed from, sailing to New York in 1912. There's loads of evidence surrounding Titanic in my document, and that links back into the Flemings and therefore back into JP Morgan, and therefore back into the Flemings. So 1871, this letter appears to have been written to Mazzini, the head of the Illuminati, which links back in with the Vatican. And this was written, according to the research, by Albert Pike, who was a high-level occultist Freemason, who started up the Scottish Rites Freemasons. Well, the oldest active Freemason lodge is in Edinburgh in Scotland. And I have information that was given to me that suggests that Edinburgh is actually the real Jerusalem in all of this. And it really would not surprise me with the deception that we're seeing, particularly around the fermentation of Israel and the linking in with the Rothschilds and the Balfour Declaration in all of this. So 1871, this letter appears to have set out a Three World War deception, which obviously would link into the fake, which is undoubtedly now what you've been led to believe about the Nazi regime is all a lie, and it goes back into the 13th century with the German company and Commerce Bank being formed and the Balfour Declaration, into this Three World War deception and the letter written by Albert Pike to Mazzini in 1871. And it says about the three world wars there. And as you know, the space between World War I and World War II is quite small. And then nothing happened after World War II. And it says in the Albert Pike letter that they will be waiting for the right time to then implement the Third World War element in this. And I believe we're within that Third World War. I don't believe it's going to be a nuclear war at all. Or what we're being led to believe the Third World War might be. I believe it is around what I'm now involved in and what's happening here. And it said they'd wait for the right time. And then, of course, as I started asking questions and exposing everything, this is when things were started to be triggered to lead into the falsified prophecies. Okay, the special military operation announced by Vladimir Putin in February 2022. Then you had 7th October 2023. You had the staged collaborative deception against humanity around the attacks in Israel. It's all staged. It's all a deception against all of you. leading into what we're now seeing with Gaza and how this all connects in. So what it said in the Third World War part, which it appears as though I've triggered that, and I suspect it's because there's something about me they know. It says in there that what it will lead to is a bloody turmoil, according to the words within it, basically complete confusion. Nobody will know where to render their adoration. They talk about destroying Christianity. They talk about destroying atheism as well. And it links in with, as I've said, it links in with the Gaza situation in Palestine. And it also links into the Muslim faith and Islam in all of it, according to the document. Now, that document was released from public view, according to the research, in 1977 from the British Museum Library. Well, that's the year I was born. Okay, so 1977, they removed it from public view, and apparently the British Museum denied all knowledge of it from that point onwards. Now, the British Museum links in my research at key times, okay, on a Company's House records, linking in with Jeffrey Epstein, the blood of the children. I haven't got it in front of me, but various other important points in all of this. It ties in with this. Several other things happened in 1977, and I'm probably going to go into this in a bit more detail in a timeline of events on another video. Okay, so I won't go too much into this, but several other things happened around my birth, which tells you there's something that they know about me in all of this, or they want me to believe that, at least through the trail of evidence that I'm now linking into all of this. And we've got to seriously ask, why am I still alive? Why is all three of my families linking in with the Knights Templar, with the Vatican, with the royal family, with all of these key individuals in all of this, including Elon Musk, Jeffrey Epstein, etc., Donald Trump, and everything else? Well, we'll come to that in a little bit more detail later. So anyway, let's look at what I was going to show you this evening, and this just blew my mind. So this is how many people we've got on here at the moment? 67. Not enough really need to get more people on here, but we'll keep going anyway. So in January 2026, that Jimmy Savile had lived in Bournemouth, Dorset. Now, I hadn't even researched where else he'd lived. Otherwise, I might have picked up on this. I knew he had lived, as I've said, at the end of his life in Glencoe. So it was only very recently I found out about this. Research appears to confirm that he had owned a flat on East Cliff in Bournemouth from 1972, which is the year after the World Economic Forum had begun, up until his death in 2011. It also suggests that the timing of this is very important, okay, because 1972 is the year before the World Trade Center was being finished to be built, okay, 1973. And 1973 is when the SWIFT international transaction system used in the international government fraud also started to be used. And when the movie Soylent Green came out, which was about an innocent police officer in 2022 uncovering a dystopian future involving large corporations. Well, 2022 is the year that I started uncovering all of this. And that movie, as I keep saying, and I'll say it just in case you haven't seen my previous videos, was loosely based on a book that was written in 1966, which is the same year as the foundation of the Church of Satan. And that book was based on the year 1999, which is the year of the re-establishment of the Church of Satan after the death of its original founder in 1997, which was within 2 months of Princess Diana dying, which is all connected 100% to everything I'm telling you in all of this. Now, so that movie came out 1973. This is also when my sister was born, and when they changed the mass non-consensual experimental program of the MK Ultra program, they changed the name from MK Ultra to MK Search. All right, and then when I was born in 1977 is when they declassified 20,000 documents, according to the research, to do with MK Ultra. So anyway, okay, just quickly, whilst we're on the year of 1973, not only was that the year that the World Trade Center building was being finished, being constructed, but the building was started to be constructed in 1966 again, which is the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. So back into Jimmy Savile, the research shows that he also owned a Norwegian cafe on Glenfern Road in Bournemouth and surrounding buildings, including Ambassador, which is now an Ambassador snooker club, or it was recently. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be an Ambassador snooker club, with an Ambassador snooker club previously making a link to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, John F. Kennedy's family, and my mother's employer, which I'm going to show you later in the document if I remember, and you can verify all of this from my document, via an address of 5 Paul Road in Bournemouth, as shown elsewhere in the document. A BBC article from 2014 appears to show a view from the property where Savile lived and details an allegation against him in Bournemouth. The address of the Bournemouth flat does not appear to be publicised from anywhere I've seen, but footage from the report confirms that it is Elizabeth Court, where both Alan May and Marcia Lynch, directors of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, had owned properties, and Owens and Porter has also managed the property. So I'm going to show you the article now, and then we're going to go into the research around this, if it loads up. Now, I'm just going to pause it on the view, if it loads, and we'll watch this video. I don't think it's a long video.
Jimmy Savile adored the view.
Okay, so this view becomes very important. Although his address isn't publicised, I believe this is the flat that I was taken to after I was, because I was making loads of inquiries around Exbourne Manor. We're going to look at the meeting that took place in a moment. And Marcia Lynch, who was the director of Exbourne Manor, I went to her property, okay, prior to the meeting, and I think it was prior to the meeting, and it had this view. I know it was on this side of the building. Now, I suspect, and I believe now, they actually took me to this flat that Jimmy Savile used to own. Now, why would they have done that is a huge question. Why expose themselves to Jimmy Savile in all of this? So we'll come to that a bit later. Let's carry on watching the video. Oh, not going to play.
The view from his holiday flat in East Cliff, a flat he bought in the 1970s and owned until his death.
Bournemouth, I find a very gentle place, full of very nice, gentle people and very, very attractive ladies. Thank goodness.
Chilling words by a man police have since labelled as a prolific sex offender, a man often spotted running along the seafront promenade here. Now, the Department for Education has asked the Borough Council to investigate a single historic allegation of abuse carried out at a local children's home.
We've been given the witness's statement, and we've been given some guidance about our role in terms of investigating that allegation and reporting procedures back to the Department for Education.
Do you know the name of the home involved?
No, we don't at this stage. We have very sketchy information about the timescales, the home, and that obviously will be our urgent priority to establish the facts as soon as we can.
Savile sailed on the QE2 at least 50 times, once telling BBC South the ship was his spiritual home. That he travelled so widely accounts for the fact the investigation in Bournemouth is only one of 21 being launched across the country today. As well as his holiday flat, Jimmy Savile also had business interests in Bournemouth. It's thought he owned this entire block at one time, letting out units to businesses and renting out the flats above. Now, it's not known how long this investigation by Bournemouth Borough Council is going to take. That rather depends whether they find any truth in this allegation and whether or not this single allegation leads to any others. Nikki Mitchell, BBC South Today.
Now, one thing I had to consider is, did they stage that report? Was it artificial intelligence? Now, I've spoken to people who live in Bournemouth and they've confirmed, no, they remember being told that he lived in the area when they were children. So we can therefore, let's assume this is real information. Now, what I'm going to show you is a video. I'm trying to think what to show you next. Okay, let me show you the. I'll show you the. Let me show you the people at Exbourne Manor first, and then we'll come to the rest of the information on there. So this is a clip. Now, I think the sound is going to be very, very faint, but I can't really do anything about it. I've tried turning up. I hope you can hear this. This is a meeting that I called to remove 2 directors at Exbourne Manor, one of them being Marcia Lynch and the other one being Diana Betts. And I'm going to show you some pictures. So here's Marcia Lynch. Okay, now this is the person whose flat I went to with her husband around the time of my inquiries going on. And I now believe that was Jimmy Savile's flat that they took me to. Now, her husband is here. And what we'll do is we'll look at a clip of the meeting first, and then we'll come back to some other information around this. Oh, in a minute.
It all started, I'm going to repeat myself really, it started back in July when I wanted to see bank statements, which I'm more than entitled to do. I approached Tony. Till this point, I thought we got on reasonably well, and I was willing to work with Tony and Diana. I approached Tony and asked to see bank statements for the company. He became very angry with me, and I was quite insistent about it. Bearing in mind, we all had to pay in £4,000, £3,700, £4,100 for the roof. We're entitled to look at those statements in relation to everything else that I was concerned about. Tony got angry, refused. I then called a meeting within a couple of days, because obviously I was shocked. Spoke to Diana and Anthony, and Tony and Diana's flat, explain the reasons why we should be looking at bank statements. We absolutely should be reviewing them. Tony resigned as a result of that discussion. Okay, last question about it.
Yes, so once again, going back to what Gary...
Sorry, just remind.
I'm just going to point out a couple of people in this video. Will it allow me to zoom in?
Fleming, B12.
Okay, this person talking now is the person claiming to be John Fleming. Okay, and John Fleming, if that's his real name, which we need to assume it is at the moment, is the husband of Deborah Fleming, who later initiated my removal from this company for refusing to file forged bank documents. Now, the Fleming family are massively involved in all of this, whatever's going on here. They link into Alexandra Fleming, who produced the penicillin. They link in with JP Morgan, that was involved in the control of energy supplies surrounding Tesla. They link in with the Titanic. They link in with Ian Fleming, wrote the James Bond books, which then led to the movies. Ian Fleming is also linked into the Navy and the intelligence agencies. Robert Fleming, okay, was involved in international banking, which is a huge part of this, of course. There's hugely implicated in all of this. So this is John Fleming speaking now, and I'll try and identify some other people as we go.
I believe that Mr. Waterman said earlier today that the fire safety certificate was 3 years out of date. Who have now learned today that we are collectively responsible for ensuring that that is done.
Yeah.
So we have a board of directors who are doing that job for us.
Correct.
That job was not done for 3 years. Has anybody checked to see if Owens and Porter were actually charging this company for doing that work when they were not doing it and putting this whole organisation at risk? And that should have been, so far as my group is concerned, I know nothing about companies. And if I put people on a board to represent my rights, I expect them to do the job, not wait for some company coming in and trusting them that they are going to take the risk for us because they're not.
Yeah, I mean, this is a quick comment. Go ahead.
Just quickly, notice I'm sat pretty much by myself at the front. Okay, now I arranged for this to be video interviewed because I've started to realise how sensitive and how complex this was becoming. Almost everybody in this room, certainly with those that are shareholders, have now been implicated and linked into the international government fraud. Okay, this person you're going to be seeing here is Alan May, supposedly that's the name he was using. He could have alias names, I don't know. He was another person that owned a flat within the property of Jimmy Savile owned, okay, in that same block of flats. So this, I believe, was a collaborative deception against me. I believe they all knew something about me, okay, and I believe they were all working collaboratively in this situation. And was trying to make it seem as though they were genuine, or some of them were genuine in this. And this is why at this meeting, I was trying to remove 2 directors, and Diana Betts was, which I will look at in a minute, was trying to remove me at this meeting, but they kept me. They had to keep me as a director at this point because it would become and look too obvious if they removed me at this point. Okay, it was later that they removed me in 2023, and that's because I was trying to highlight the fact that there was no fire risk assessment on the building since the Grenfell Tower fire in 2017, and I was trying to work out what was going on with our accounts and the international government fraud, and I'd worked out that it was over £167,000 appearing to be missing from our company. Anyway, let's carry on.
Pick up your points about Owens and Porter. A lot of people who know me, I have historically mentioned to Owens and Porter, I've mentioned to people I know who live in Exmoor Manor, other directors and shareholders, that the AGM, the clue is on the tin, it's an annual general meeting, therefore once a year. And I remember sitting in Owens and Porter's office with other directors, and I kept saying it should be once a year, every year, to discuss these things, to find out A, B, C, and D, tick, 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 tick.
I completely agree.
This is Diana Betts, who called the meeting to remove me.
He has every single time requested there to be an AGM. There was due to be an AGM, and Gary cancelled it.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that? Yeah, that's correct. And that was because things were clearly becoming too complicated in terms of a financial investigation was required. And all that would have happened is if I would have sat there, people would have asked me loads of questions that I couldn't answer because I needed to progress the investigation so it could be handed over to the police, which I'm now at that. I've exhausted all of my other options and it is now being handed over to the financial investigation.
You decided that wasn't.
So this meeting was held on, I think it was the 4th of March 2022, around that time. So it was quite a while ago. So I didn't know what I knew now, obviously, at this point.
To be viable. Yeah. We decided to continue because Owens and Porter were the incumbent managing agents from Merrick Estates. Sure. So I would imagine Merrick Estates run a pretty tight ship financially and legally. So why would we query the fact that if they employed Owens and Porter, why wouldn't we employ them?
So this is Anthony Roberts, who was the acting chairman that resigned after I wanted to look at the documents. He worked for AFC Bournemouth, which has now been linked directly to the Collider technology via a company called Begbie's Trainers, or Begbie's Trainer. And that also links straight to JP Morgan. Okay, so that means he is linked to JP Morgan and the Collider technology, all right, in all of this immediately via this research, okay? The person behind, on the left there, I can't zoom in at the moment, can I go over there? Is Diana Bisson, or Diane Bisson. She changed her name. It was Diane Bisson Simmons, and then she changed it to Diane Simmons. Now, she links almost immediately to seismic activity, or seismic company, shall we say, that I've now linked via a record to the same name as the solicitors that I attended in Inverness as part of the strategy to stop the international government fraud on the 12th of September 2012, which is the MacLeod and McClellan, which links in MacLeod. Remember, it's the same surname as Donald Trump's mum. And this is all connected from multiple ways into Donald Trump, to this meeting, and to everyone that's connected into this, and all of these other key individuals that we're talking about here. So that's Diane Bisson Simmons. You've also got Douglas Bannon, if they're their real names, of course, here. Okay, so these are all people that were clearly trying to be against me in what I was trying to do in this as part of a collaborative deception, tying in with the international government fraud. So we'll carry on anyway.
The answer to the question is you felt they were a legitimate company and had no concerns.
Meeting on the 6th of August, Gary asked every individual person, I think there were 2 or 3 by Zoom, because of A, B, C, and D, I hate to use that analogy, should we be looking around for fresh managing agents? And everybody voted yes to move on. We've moved on.
Coming to AGMs for the last 20 years or more, no more than, let's say, half a dozen of us turn up. Why all of a sudden everybody's interested? So of course, everything's left to a few of us. And as a non-resident, we've had flats here for 24 years. Forgive me if I don't stand up and stand well these days. Part of my problem is.
Sorry, I'm just trying to remember the names here now. It's been so long I mentioned them. I might have got Douglas Bannon is my brain's gone. Douglas Bannon is one of these two guys. And I haven't got the names in front of me, so it may be that the other person here is Douglas Bannon. My brain's not working properly. But this is Marcia Lynch, definitely with one of the properties, as I said, in Exmoor Manor. And as you know, there's John Fleming. There's a better shot of him, actually. John Fleming. And Deborah Fleming is also here. Okay, the person that initiated my removal from Exmoor Manor. And I'm going to show you an image of them in a minute.
Is not the issues themselves, but the way the issues have been presented to the various parties involved. I've got the greatest admiration for Gary Waterman for the work he's putting in, but I have rather less admiration for his attitude. I think you've seen today, all of you have seen today, that what Gary is, he's very precise, but he's also very hectoring. And I can understand how people can feel intimidated by him. He's also very eloquent. Since Gary got involved, we've lost the managing agent, we've lost the gardener, we've lost the company accountant, if I'm not mistaken, Carter and Coley, and we've lost 3 directors. I was one of the directors. Look, I'm going to be 82 years old in September. I haven't got the strength to keep fighting all this, so I resigned. There are issues, certainly. There are issues that need to be answered. There are financial, apparent financial irregularities which need to be investigated, and I'm fully behind that. But please, Gary, just bear with me for a moment, please. But the way back Gary has been acting, his aggressive attitude towards all these people, of course, have to walk away, including myself.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Statement, isn't it? Let us not all forget, if it wasn't for Marcia, we wouldn't be here. This meeting would not be taking place. She was the one that spearheaded the campaign to buy the freehold and stuck to her guns, and she put in many hours and years' work to get it across. And sorry, let us not forget that none of us would be here at this meeting, holding this meeting, if it wasn't for her.
So I suspect that this was produced in collaboration with Owen Porter, or at least somebody else. Can you confirm you still wrote this 100% by yourself?
No, I didn't. I told you. I looked up Google and all the
without Google, other than Google, did you use?
So this was a document that clearly Diana Betts lied about this, said she was the only person that had created this document, which was talking about her justification for trying to remove me as the director. But it was clearly written by a collaborative effort. Okay, now I suspect even the police may have been involved in that letter. Certainly other organisations or whatever would have been involved in it. And I confirmed that she had lied in it. Now, after this meeting, supposedly members of her family came up, stood right in my face in an intimidating way, and basically made me feel as though I was going to be attacked if I ever suggested that she was lying again, which she clearly was lying about this.
It is to see you moving. Oh, how beautiful it is to see you move. You've poured out your spirit on every heart. You sent forth your word, and it's come to pass. What our fathers and mothers could only foretaste is now in our lifetime. The order of day, eyes are unveiling, hearts are aligning.
So, Michael, just pick up there on a couple of points that Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary, was making. We're going to discuss, get Mark and the progress of trying to bring some resolution to this publicly. He might want to do it publicly, but if he WhatsApps or messages the President in the last couple of days, the President's screenshots of messages from Mark Rutte, from Macron, and also from the Norwegian leader as well, I think, and put that out on his social media platform. I'm just interested for your perspective on whether we ever see that before. It seemed a pretty remarkable moment.
No, I mean, this is a change in the nature of global diplomacy at the top level. So the idea that, first of all, diplomacy has been done on social media. So instead of the president having a press conference or making an official statement carefully worded with a text to all the journalists, so there's a particular sentence which expresses what the administration means, we get these blasts from social media in the early hours of the morning with its block capital letters and its dreadful grammar and so on. I mean, that man's syntax is awful, but there you are. He's the president of the United States. He's allowed grammatical infelicities, but there you are. So we get that, and we've got the issue that nothing is sacred. So people try to communicate directly with him. Because the administration is so dysfunctional below him, leaders think it's no good putting a request into the State Department. Can we have a quick meeting? Can I arrange a phone call? They've got his numbers. They've got contacts with him. So they get onto him directly, as they try to do, to be, as it were, personally congruent with him. And then he publishes their statements, which are cringeworthy in many cases. And so they'll be very careful what they write in future. Now, all of this is bringing the profession of international diplomacy down several notches into the realm of gossip politics. And it's not very helpful, because it creates, I mean, even if you think, well, there's no point being pompous about these things, it's not to do with pomposity. It's about being precise so that people don't misunderstand each other. For instance, I mean, President Trump's apparent reversal of policy on the Chagos Islands, which we got yesterday, and a complete reversal from what he'd said about the Chagos Islands and the deal that Britain is doing. Last May, he said it was a monumental achievement last May. Suddenly it's a really stupid thing to do. That appears to be a misunderstanding created at the top level. Matthew Whitaker, the US ambassador to NATO, knew exactly what was happening over sending NATO troops to Greenland as a gesture of common defence. And he knew that. He was the ambassador. He should have got that message back. But that message doesn't seem to have got back to the president, who interpreted the thing in a hostile way. And so out of anger, he then lashes out at Chagos, of the Chagos deal. And it looks as if there may be some elements of people in the UK who've been bending his ear about the Chagos deal and have turned him against what he previously thought about it. I mean, I don't think he understands the Chagos deal, because he said, oh, maybe the Brits are doing it for money. Well, no, it's costing Britain 101 million a year for the next 99 years. Yeah. That's the cost of leasing back the base in Diego Garcia for 99 years. So undoubtedly, when he talked about it, he didn't know what it was. He didn't understand what it was. But the fact that the diplomacy is so informal now means that these sort of misunderstandings can so easily occur. So we're in a realm of diplomacy which is to be honest, it's down to the level of social media gossip, and it isn't helpful. And the European statespeople at Davos are all trying to get back to, I think here, they're trying to get back to some formal diplomacy, because for all of the formality, it does help to prevent misunderstandings. And when governments are very powerful, when leaders are very powerful, when they create crises, as President Trump does, he's a crisis leader. He creates crises because he believes he's good in a crisis. And that's what, all the great dictators have done that. They create crises because they think they can manipulate them. There is always the problem of misunderstanding and the problem of reckless behavior that runs out of control. And that's what we're living with in the Trump diplomacy. Everything is in danger of running out of control.
Let's just see if we can see some images from Zurich, because we are expecting to see, well, there we are. We don't know whether this is the plane, but it does say the United States of America, pretty bold typeface on the side of it. We are expecting to see President Trump making his arrival in Zurich. This is a delay to proceedings from the president's planned schedule. He had left the United States on Air Force One. That, of course, is the call sign attributed to the plane itself. It's not a dedicated plane, but an air sign attributed to the plane carrying the president at the time, and was due to leave on Air Force One, had to turn back round due to what was being described as a minor electrical error on board. So the plane returned to the United States. The president then alighting the aircraft and getting aboard a second aircraft, which has made its way across the Atlantic. It's landing in Zurich in Switzerland. The planned schedule then will see the president transfer onto Marine One. That is the helicopter, the green helicopter that you so often see on the lawn of the White House, that will transport him to Davos. That will be a journey of around 40 or so minutes on Marine One, or at least that's the time that's been allocated for that journey. And the president then will join what is the largest delegation of American diplomats and governmental officials to ever take to a Davos summit. There is a huge USA house that is being created on scene, and our reporters have been at the scene for us. Let's just keep a close eye on this aircraft. Like I say, we're expecting to see the president descend from the steps in due course. Whilst we watch these images, let's bring in actually former special advisor to the NATO Secretary General, Mark Laerty. Mark, what should European leaders brace themselves for? What should NATO brace itself for in the next few hours?
Well, I don't think it's going to be easy, because the president has backed them into a corner and backed himself into a corner. The idea that he's going to sort of concede publicly, I don't think he is. I think he's going to keep going. And I think the issue for the leaders, the various leaders, is this fundamental tactic. Do you try to flatter him into a deal, or do you front up to him? And I think what we're seeing now is a belief right across Europe that they've run out of road on the flattery route. And I think it could therefore be quite tough.
There were some tough words for some of the European leaders from the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who has a unique position in the terms of he's hugely powerful. He has an economy that rivals many other nations in the form of his state, but he has the pleasure of not being a head of state, so he can maybe be a little bit more bold than those that he was decrying. And he effectively said this policy of appeasement has to end. He said he should have brought knee pads to Davos for some of the world leaders. What should European leaders do? Because at the end of the day, they still have to have a working relationship with the US. They still have to have a working relationship with the office of the president and the White House. They still have to have trading relationships and military relationships. But at the same time, there is an individual that really does push at the boundaries. But at the same time, there are calls for European leaders to push back. To what degree can they do so?
I think you've got to start making a distinction between strategy and psychology. Donald Trump is not about strategy. He's about his personality. He hates weakness. He likes to roll over it. A lot of the way he's treating Europe is not, oh, what do I think about NATO? What do I think about strategic movements? It's about, these are weak people and I can kick them around. And that is, and you saw even Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, being almost dismissive of Europeans, saying how weak we are, and we'll set up a working group. So I think in terms of the strategy of dealing with an individual, rather than the strategy of a strategy, we've got to actually indicate to him that Europe is not weak. And that will then make him think, do I want to go ahead? So that's the fundamental issue for the NATO and the European leaders, is to deal with the personality of Trump and the psychology. He wants Greenland because he has said publicly, he psychologically needs it. And we're dealing with psychology here, not strategy. And he thinks Europe's weak. If you want to deal with Trump, you've got to make him think you're strong.
He says he needs Greenland for security reasons, that the United States is the only country that could protect it and defend it and fend off what he perceives as threats from Russia and from China. What is your analysis of the security situation in Greenland, and what is your analysis of the threats that it faces?
I think that there is an Arctic security problem, not a Greenland security problem. And I think that any intelligent, sensible, well-educated, neutral person will tell you, you do not need to do what Trump is proposing. It is very, very easy to actually create a NATO response for Arctic security. There is a problem. They do need a response. But actually, the American individual capabilities in the Arctic at the moment are curiously quite weak. They've only got a couple of icebreakers, which are pretty old and useless. Their actual forces in Greenland are very small. Their ability to create ice-capable ships, and this is a maritime area, is limited. Whereas if you look at the Canadians, the Finns, the Danes, they've all got capabilities. If you wanted to improve Arctic security, a multinational approach is the way to do it. So the argument about the Danish can't defend it, no one's asking the Danes to defend it. You do it multinationally. So the American argument on defense grounds is frankly pathetic.
Mark Laerty, really good to have you with us here on Sky News. We're just going to follow the developments of that aircraft closely as it taxis around the runways of Zurich Airport. As the screen goes white there for a few seconds, let's just take a few moments here on Sky News to bring you a bit of breaking news now. And according to reports, a planned meeting between Donald Trump and Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz in Davos has been cancelled. That's because of Trump's delayed flight, and there had been a clamour amongst world leaders to try and get FaceTime with the president. It looks as though that option for the German leader has been cut short. Sir Keir Starmer isn't heading to Davos. He is in the UK, though. A short time ago, left Downing Street for PMQs, where the situation regarding Greenland, Donald Trump and the Chagos Islands will be top of the agenda. Here's him leaving Downing Street a few moments ago.
Are we being bullied by President Trump, Prime Minister?
Don't you need to act a bit more tougher, Prime Minister? Why are you not going to Davos, Prime Minister? Have we lost our global standing on the global stage, Prime Minister? Questions but no answers on the pavement of Downing Street, but there will be questions and answers at PMQs in the Commons. That's going to kick off in just around 15 minutes' time. Stick with us here on Sky News for PMQs. Jane Secker will be bringing you all the action from the House of Commons. Let's take you back to all the action in Switzerland, shall we, and the situation in Davos. Joining us, former Special Advisor to the NATO Secretary-General Mark Laity. Mark, what do you make of the fact that Sir Keir Starmer isn't in Switzerland? Some people will say that was an error on his part. Some will also say it shows a degree of strength, maybe, staying in London.
I think he's between a rock and a hard place on this one, in the sense that if he goes, it will be very uncomfortable for him. And I think that there's a realization that, if you like, the traditional Trump whispering isn't working anymore. So in one sense, he could go, he can make his point, but also he could end up being humiliated and making it worse. So in a way, you could say it's a lack of courage, or you could say it's actually quite sensible. I think he would be better. I think he'd be looking for a one-on-one separately, and look to other people to take the heat. So yeah, you can look at it either way, but I don't think he was going to be a winner if he went, that's for sure.
Just want to explain the images that we're showing you here live on Sky News. This footage being shared to us by partner broadcasters, so hopefully we can keep that camera steady for you and show you what's happening. This is the US presidential plane that has landed in Zurich. It is a ways away from the terminal building. That is because the president is transferring from that jet that has flown over the Atlantic. You can see there the steps are being brought from the right of the frame of the screen across to the presidential aircraft. It's a ways away from the terminal building because it needed to stand close to the helipads of Zurich Airport, and that is what you can see. That white-topped helicopter with its green underbelly is Marine One, and that will be used to transport the president to Davos. Davos is a hilltop, mountainous, alpinous resort that is, in some respects, not well designed for hosting the world's leaders and world's business entrepreneurs and leadership. It is up at around 5,000 or so feet. So this transfer taking place, like I say, on the tarmac of Zurich Airport, and that is why we can't bring you much closer footage of the president, but we'll continue to watch the developments. He is delayed, like I say, a little earlier in the programme. He was supposed to have left Washington earlier than intended. That is because of a technical issue on the first aircraft that was due to bring him over to Europe, turned back round, gone on to a second aircraft and made his way across. That has led, according to sources reporting to us here via Reuters from Davos, to a cancellation of the president's meeting with Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, because of a break in the schedule there. What I can't tell you is what other impacts that might have. Will it delay his speech to the delegates at Davos? Will it have impacts on his other meetings that are going to take place? We don't yet know, but we will bring you all the details as we get them here live on Sky News. We'll get the full story to you first throughout the course of the day and the afternoon. We're going to bring you live coverage from our world presenter Yad Hakim live from Davos this afternoon as the president makes those addresses. In the meantime, as we watch these images, let's just speak to our defence and security analyst, Professor Michael Clark. And Michael, as we watch this, just give us a sense of history here, if you will. Have we seen a relationship in its current form between America and the rest of the world, or is this a new era?
Oh, the United States intends it to be a new era. Whether it will turn out that way, we don't know, because we don't know how deeply ingrained in US culture MAGA republicanism is. So it might all finish in 3 years' time with the 2028 elections, or it might go on in a successor to Donald Trump for another 8 years after that. So it might be a 12-year process, even longer. So we don't really know what MAGA republicanism is, but there's a real change. We don't know what the future of American democracy is. That's a battle that's going to be fought over the next 10 years. And undoubtedly, the MAGA Republicans will be the first to tell you that they're fighting for their version of American democracy. We just don't know. But what we're certain about after this 12 months is that America has given up on defending the democracies in the world, leading the Western democracies. America has given up on the version of liberal democracy which is predominant in Western Europe. And this Davos meeting, I think, will go down as one of the pegs in the ground of that intention, that real intention on the part of the Trump administration to shift the rules of world politics. I mean, the Trump administration are revisionists. They're just like Xi Jinping and Putin, for their different reasons. They're trying to change the nature of world politics. And I mean, interestingly, since you mentioned it, Howard Lutnick, who was the Commerce Secretary, he's at Davos, and they've sent a big delegation to Davos. They weren't going to a while ago. Now they're all there. Scott Bessent's there, Lutnick is there, the president's there, with all of the crowd around him. And Lutnick is written in the FT this morning, something he said on a panel, actually, with Rachel Reeves yesterday. And he's very clear. He said, we're not here to uphold the status quo. We are here to confront it head on. That's what he's written in the FT. And he says, he actually uses the phrase, we are the new sheriff in town. You know, he sort of creates, he's absolutely a Trump loyalist, and he takes no prisoners. And so he uses this phrase, we are the new sheriff in town. There's the sort of swaggering arrogance about it. And he outlines in this brief article in the FT a completely new world economic order in which we don't rely on interdependence or global supply chains. We don't rely on international organizations. We don't put any faith in those. We have a series of nations with their own strong economies, with jobs for their own workers, markets for their own products. And only by a series of strong nations operating internal economies can the world be more prosperous. And he said, that when we win, meaning America, when we win, the world wins. Now, the last time we had that sort of thinking in world politics was after the First World War, where the protectionism that led to the Great Crash and then the recession of the 1930s, which produced fascism and the Second World War. A lot of economists said that economic policy after 1918 was a direct creator of the tensions of the late 1930s. Now, other economists disagree, say it's not so simple. But I'll just point out, the last time we had policies like the sort of thing that Lutnick is talking about was just after the First World War, in that 20-year peace, the peace between the two world wars. So we'll see. Is this a big moment in history? Yes. The Americans intend it to be. Whether it turns into that will kind of depend on how everyone else reacts.
We are just watching live footage here at Sky News from Zurich Airport. It is at 12:51 local time. That is the exit door of Air Force One. You can see the seal there on the door. You can see the steps up to the aircraft now. To the bottom of those steps and to the left of Air Force One is Marine One, which will transport President Trump to Davos. And you mentioned there, as we watch these images, Michael, about the fact that the presidential term has 3 more years. Before that, though, is the midterms, November 2026. And that has the capacity, potentially, to see the Republicans lose control of the House of Representatives, lose control of the Senate, and therefore you end up with what is referred to often as the lame duck presidency. You don't have another term in office. You have 2 years where you struggle to pursue your legislative agenda. If there is that change in power dynamics in Congress, what would that matter and what would that mean to the president? Because at the end of the day, he does quite a lot of it by decree in some respects, in the form of those, those memos and those emergency executive orders.
Yeah, I mean, President Trump has issued more executive orders than any other president in history and keeps on doing it. And this is an attempt, of course, to change the nature of the way American democracy works. If the MAGA Republicans do badly in the November midterms, then it will certainly create some pushback and it will create some element of drag on the momentum of the Trump presidency. But remember that all presidents they tend to have a bad second and third year in their second term because things are built up against them. Usually their policies are not as successful as they hoped, and they tend to get involved in scandals in their mid years, like Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and Reagan got caught up in Iran-Contra, and George Bush in the Iraq problem. They all tend to get caught in those sort of things, but they all worry about legacy, and they turn away from, as it were, efficient government towards legacy issues. And I think Donald Trump will probably do that. Now, whether that would make life more interesting or not for the rest of us, we don't know. But also remember, if the Republicans do quite well in the midterms, and the economy is not doing badly, and if it's basically the economy, if the economy gets him through the midterms so they don't do too badly, he may not be that much of a lame duck president, because it may be that the momentum means that he can nominate a successor who would win in 28 and be, Trump too. And whether it be J.D. Vance, the money's on him at the moment, but it may not be, it's a long way away, maybe somebody else. But if they do quite well in November, then Trump may not be a lame duck president, because there'll be a Trumpist candidate that he will have some influence over, even though by then he'll be 83, and we'll see what his mental state is by then. So we can't just assume, as a lot of Democrats are assuming, that somehow all this will get reined in come November. We'll see.
Still with us here on Sky News is former Special Advisor to the NATO Secretary General, Mark Leahy. Mark, I appreciate you joining us and sticking with us as we watch these images from Zurich. And as we watch these images from Zurich, it is undoubted that the Kremlin and Beijing will be watching the developments that are going on between NATO allies very closely indeed. What will Russia and China be making of this, and what will they be doing in response?
Well, Russia in particular will be absolutely delighted. Putin is also an individualist, but he's a strategic one. And the big geostrategic aim of the Russians is to destroy NATO, is to see it fall apart. So this is like all their dreams coming true. So they will be totally delighted. I think the Chinese will be fairly pleased because they like to see this new world order, and they don't want to see the unipolar world. And so they see America fracturing as quite a good thing. But they'll also be worried because they're more of a stabilizing influence in terms that they want to see the world be stable.
In collaboration with Owens and Porter, or at least somebody else. Can you confirm you still wrote this 100% by yourself?
No, I didn't. I told you. I looked up Google and all.
No, without Google, other than Google, did you use?
So this was a document that clearly Diana Betts lied about this. Said she was the only person that had created this document, which was talking about her justification for trying to remove me as the director. But it was clearly written by a collaborative effort. Okay, now I suspect even the police may have been involved in that letter. Certainly other organisations or whatever would have been involved in it. And I confirmed that she had lied in it. Now, after this meeting, supposedly members of her family came up, stood right in my face in an intimidating way, and basically made me feel as though I was going to be attacked if I ever suggested that she was lying again, which she clearly was lying about this.
Anybody else to help you construct this document?
I discussed everything with my family.
So they helped you construct this document.
They did.
Why didn't you tell us that before?
Because I didn't think it was
It's none of your
necessary.
business.
Because
It's very important.
I translated
Very
this and
important.
they typed it.
Because it shows you wasn't honest again in relation to that question.
Irrelevant.
You are going completely over the top.
You know,
There's a policeman talking here.
but dishonesty is very important in this situation.
This lady has stood up and she has given a proposal that now, this minute, that should be good enough.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Okay, we'll maintain the debate. We'll come to you in a minute.
If we can't be honest as directors, how can we trust the decisions that they're making and they're doing the right things and believing them to do what they're saying they're doing? Honesty is 100% important in this situation.
Regarding the specific resolution, yes.
Yes, please, sir.
Fire away. B12.
This gunfight has been very, very interesting, but it's totally immaterial to why we are here this afternoon. We are here this afternoon because we've been informed by this man that there is a massive gap in the finances of this group of people. We have heard evidence today, and I will freely admit myself, I have never met this man before today. We have nothing in common other than the fact we are both retired police officers. And what I've listened to today has been a nonsense. It's been a gunfight between a group of people versus another group. I am interested in a possible fraud involving thousands and thousands of pounds and the mismanagement, of my personal opinion, of this committee. It should never have been allowed to get this far. Someone should have been picking it up that thousands of pounds were not being paid where they should have been paid. And that was to the shareholders of this company. Someone has been siphoning off large sums of money. And that is the thing over the last,
we suspect,
however amount of time. Sorry? So my question.
Now, this, I believe, was damage control here. Okay. John Fleming is massively implicated in the international government fraud. His name, or a name of John Fleming, I'm presuming it's him because of the Fleming connection elsewhere, and I've got links from Deborah Fleming into all of this, links immediately to Princess Anne, immediately, which links immediately into CERN, which links into Donald Trump, the research of Madeleine McCann. It links into Prince Andrew immediately from this, from a name of a name of John Fleming on the records. And also that immediately connects in from the other premises that I went into at Inverness. And this is going to be no coincidence, everybody. All right. So what they're doing here is trying to make it seem as though they're supporting me, or John Fleming is. He then wanted to come in as a director, okay, after this meeting. So they were talking about him being a director because he wasn't a director. And that's because they brought the Flemings in after they realised what I was starting to uncover, okay? And Deborah Fleming resigned from the NHS in around March 2022, which is when I was going on holiday with some colleagues, okay, or some previous colleagues, and I started to be talking about the religious links into what I was uncovering, or my religious beliefs at this point. And I've now found, obviously, it's directly linking in with the Vatican and everything else. So this was him confirming and supporting what I was identifying in the company at this point.
Is why do we want to get rid of the only person that has brought to light this fraud?
This gentleman is wrong in one respect. Gary Cinnamon is wrong in one respect. Gary has not proven anything that any money has gone missing.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
But he's not proven that any money has gone. He's alleged a lot of things. He has not proven one thing that anything.
This gentleman has gone to the fraud department. He has a registered crime number against people. The police acknowledge that there is a strong possibility that a crime has been committed. It will not be proven for quite some time. It doesn't hold the fact. I don't need proof to look at a bank account and see what should have come into an account and what did come into account.
Yes. Okay. Gary, yes. Why hasn't Tony and everybody else helped me prove or disprove what's going on in the accounts? In all of this.
So you get the gist there. Now, they all knew who John Fleming was, right? Notice he's
It all started, I mean, repeating myself,
notice
really.
he is Scottish, okay, which obviously we've got the Scottish rights of Freemasons linking into all of this, okay? Now, some of the people in this meeting, including, let's go to the images. I'll just show you some of the images of these people. So where's Alan May? There's Alan May. So he calls John Sir, all right, and gives it away by calling John Fleming Sir during this meeting. Now, that suggests he's obviously of a prominent position. Here's Deborah Fleming talking at the meeting. It was about an hour and a half all in the end, the actual meeting. Here's Rosalind Shogger. Okay, she was horrendous to me at one, well, not very nice, put it that way. Here's Diana Betts, John Fleming, Diane Biss and Simmons. You could say she looked very worried the whole interview. Here's Anthony Roberts, who was the acting chairman. Douglas Bannon is the guy behind. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten some of the names here. Here's the husband of Marcia Lynch. This is Deborah Fleming on an article. She was the one that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor. She is the NHS chief executive that resigned. Here's Gary Strong, who has connections to the fire brigade. He was a director. He resigned. Now, he wasn't at the meeting. And remember, there'd been no fire risk assessment at all done on the building since 2017. And he's linked to the fire industry. And as far as I'm aware, there has still been no suitable fire risk assessment done. This is one of the other people linked to the company. Here's Rosalind Shogger, linking in with the Israel side of things. There she is. I remember an email she sent to me. She said, oh, just basically rubbed it in saying she's been on all these incredible holidays. And there's over, this is Suki Resnay, if that's a real name. So just thought I'd show you that a little bit of the meeting. So let's look at the research surrounding that building. Now, this is the Company's House records now that we're going to be looking at in relation to Elizabeth Court. So this is the building that Jimmy Savile owned a flat in and where two directors of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited had also owned property. How long we've been? 55 minutes. I'll do 5 more minutes and then I'll stop. I was going to do half-an-hour increments, but a Company's House search shows that Elizabeth Court Bournemouth Limited was incorporated as Elizabeth Court Freehold Limited in 2004 before its name was changed 6 days later. It has the previous registered address for Owens and Porter of Sanborn Chambers, 328 Wimborne Road, Bournemouth. The address I had attended in 2022 with Diana Betts to discuss the issues surrounding Exbourne Manor, where Stephen Owens refused to discuss anything and gave notice to resign immediately. It has laces of 1 Paul Road and 5 Paul Road, Bournemouth, on its incorporation document, which appears to be forged to remove the word Turner and change the address from 1 to Paul Road. Stephen Trevor Owens is still a director, having been appointed from 2006, which is when I moved from Dorset to Bournemouth, okay, not knowing anybody at all, and he's still a director. A David May, born 1947, is shown in the People record. 4 years difference to that of Alan May linked to Exbourne Manor. So we have to consider, is that an alias? I'm not saying it is. I have to consider, is that an alias name of Alan May? Okay, because he's linked to Elizabeth Court. So let's look at the Company's House records. And let's go into a little bit of verification of this. Getting quite cold, actually, so I have to put my jacket on. Loads up. Oh, that's the address. Actually, whilst we're on here, I'll show you this. That's worked out really well. So you remember the view from Jimmy Savile's building? Okay, so this is the building. So he was at the, obviously I can't point at the screen here, but, or can I put a marker there? There we go. So he was on this side of the building, okay, looking out. Now that's where, roughly where Marcia Lynch's flat was that they took me up to. And he was looking across in this direction, you can see. And then they were looking across to the pier, which is over here. You saw the pier. So there is Elizabeth Court. Exbourne Manor is literally here. Okay, so that's Exbourne Manor. And you can see if we zoom out, this is Bournemouth. So let's go back and look at the Company House records. Elizabeth Court, Bournemouth. Sandbourne Chambers. Sandbourne Chambers. So this is the address that I attended with Diana Betts prior to that meeting to try and have a discussion with Stephen Owens, who was the managing agent for the company. Okay. If we look on the, actually, we'll go into the people record and I'll just show you Stephen Owens. So Stephen Trevor Owens is still shown as an active director for the block of flats where Jimmy Savile had a flat. Now, Stephen Owens links to the Russian government via the research. Okay, Stephen Owens immediately links to my brother-in-law's family, immediately to his family. Okay, the Timms family, who are linked to Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, the main Freemason lodge. So just to confirm that, we'll go into that in a minute. I'll go into Exbourne Manor and show you the same name. Okay, but before we do that, let's have a look at the incorporation document, which becomes critical. So on the incorporation document, you can see Lacey's. Now they've scrubbed out the name Turner, and I think I've identified why in a minute. We come to in the evidence what we speak about later. And you can see it has one Pool Road up here, one Pool Road, and it had one Pool Road down here, but they've changed it to a 5. Okay. Now this all becomes really important as we go through this. What else did I want to show you on here? There you go. You can see 5 Pool Road, Bournemouth. Is there anything else on here? No. So let's now go into Exbourne Manor, where I was a director. And I know this is, I want to show you all of the evidence. I know this is time consuming and a lot of you would just want me to, but I need to show the proof of everything. So here's Exbourne Manor. If we go into the people record, you'll see my name at the bottom. There I am. And they removed me as a director. I didn't resign. They removed me, even though I was trying to sort out the fire safety risks and I was trying to find out what's happening with the finances. Now, is Stephen Owens. Here's Anthony Roberts, who initially resigned, okay, which was it after? Prior to the meeting, he resigned. So, sorry, that meeting was actually in, I think it was actually 2023 in March. Sorry, not 2022. It was 2023. So he resigned after I wanted to look at the accounts. Here's Marcia Lynch, who actually was removed at that meeting. They had to. The evidence was so strong, but they didn't remove Diana Betts. They kept Diana Betts, kept me on, and voted supposedly to remove Marcia, but it was all staged. Okay, here's Jeffrey Lynch, who is her husband. Interesting, actually, when he was appointed. See, I'm picking up on things. So this was the same day I was appointed, which was literally days before the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated. And that links all areas of the fraud together. Here's Philip Harrod. You can see he resigned, okay, after I'd been removed and as I continued to expose the fraud. Here's Douglas Bannon, who also resigned. He said, obviously, about that on the 17th of November. And there you go, Stephen Trevor Owens Porter. Now that obviously makes a link straight to Jimmy Savile in all of this, okay? But there's even more, because if we go into the filing history, it becomes even more relevant. And what